You know, I think it's Streamlabs at this point, which sucks, because I'm paying all this money for this, and that's why it sucks. Paying all this money for this. Oh, I don't want to hear the double. Now I gotta get everybody back in here. Let me pull the new chat out. It's crazy. YouTube hates us. I believe it. At this point, it's YouTube, which I wouldn't be shocked if it was, or it's Streamlabs. But I've never had issues with Streamlabs up until now, so I don't know. This is trash. But yes, welcome back, Tyre. KO. Oh, really? We're gonna see how many more people can file back in. Tyre, I know you sent me some stuff. Let's get some of that stuff pulled up. Why not? I mean, apparently, like, you know what I realized? Every time we talk about Satan, it freezes. When we were talking about young Don being a heretic, his words, because that's what his video was about, it froze. Today, what are we talking about? The Disney show, the chick being impregnated by Satan. It froze. There was another day when we were talking about the Trinity, right? Being true. It froze. It froze on all of them. Now that I actually think about it, that's the only time it freezes, because think about this. When I play video games, this never crashes. On all the video game streams, this never crashes, like in the slightest. But on these days, on Mondays and Tuesdays, recently, since we've been talking about certain things, yeah, we talked about the Trinity and it froze. We talked about Sneeko. Well, I think that was because I pulled Sneeko's stream from Rumble. I think that's why. But I notice every other time we've spoken about Satan, it's froze. But when I play Fortnite and Monster Train and Splatoon, it doesn't freeze. Interesting. Y'all know why that is. Y'all know exactly why that is. What's Dragon Ball again? Stop it. Stop it. That's probably on purpose. It probably is. It probably is. Oh, the one video you need a Catholic's perspective? Yes. Where? Here it is. Here it is. We definitely do need a Catholic's perspective. I know exactly. We're going to start with that one first, Tyre. Because apparently I can't talk about the other video. You know, that can't be a thing. John, welcome back. Welcome back. You're seeing it too? Yeah. Yeah, they're still not going to stop us. Facts. Facts. You did not link his Rumble? Well, kind of hard to remember to do that when YouTube cuts your whole... when it cuts your whole stream. Where does saying come from when you're Michelle? Ah, good question. You actually, John, I think you're the first person to ask this out of everybody that knows as long as I've been here. So in high school, well before my Christian days, when I was younger, that period of my life, battle rap was like big in the scene. So like you had Smack DVD, URL, stuff of that nature. Mixtapes were like big. So when 50 Cent came on the scene with G-Unit, they took over the mixtape scene, and then Cameron and Dipset took over the mixtape scene. Then you had a rapper named Cassidy. He was like this great battle rapper or whatever. So battle rap was like this huge thing once I hit ninth grade. And everybody was doing it. Like, there's a rapper out now. His name's Chip the Ripper. He's like one of the biggest, more recent rappers from my city. And he went to high school with me, and there's a thing called like the E Room. And they used to like battle rap in there and stuff. We used to watch them. So since we were so into this, you need rap names. And I thought like a really cool rap name, because like I thought I was so nasty with it or whatever. Since we had to take all the different language classes, I found out in French, sang fra meant fresh blood. And I was like, oh, that's dope. So that was my whole rap name. As you can, as you can assume, most people didn't know how to pronounce the second part. So I dropped it and just left it as sang. So that's where it like came from. And it kind of just stuck. And that's just been like a nickname ever since. And it's funny, you're like the first person to ask that, like, out of this whole time since I've been live streaming. Longer there's breath in our bodies, we'll proclaim the gospel of God. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. They had high schools back then. Ha ha ha. I'm not that old, buddy. You love G-Unit? Yeah, G-Unit was cool back in the day. I made mixtapes with anime theme songs in the 90s. Oh, you said in the 90s. So when you made mixtapes, because that was on cassette tapes. That was on these right here. So how did that work? Because I don't think y'all had, I don't think you could press CDs yet, right? Pressing CDs didn't really come to like 2000. Oh, you did? That's interesting. How did that work? How do you make a mixtape with a cassette tape? My mom could be your very young mom. Tech boy, stop. That means your mom would have had to have me like 18 or something for that to even be like a thing. Hold on, KF broke it down. Wait a minute. Yeah, CDs were new, but I know blanks weren't heavy yet. Blanks didn't start become heavy till like once the 2000s hit, because I used to burn blank CDs back in the day. I used to like bootleg stuff for people. I know, it was wrong. I was a kid. I just wanted money. Didn't know any better. So you went stereo to VCR to PlayStation. To do... Hold on. Tyree broke it down too. Hold on. I used cassettes. I would run the anime show on VHS and tape it onto stereo. Oh, so I guess that kind of is this. Yikes. I know, right? Tech Boy got jokes. I used stone tablets and communicated using smoke signals. A double cassette deck. Ew. Have you heard of VCDs? What's a VCD? What do you mean? So a DVD player? Is that what you're talking about? We all had our BC days. Dang, y'all making me old. Yikes. It's a video CD. So, sir, a DVD. You're talking about a DVD player. I read about it on How to Geek. Oh, yikes. Okay, well. No, a VCD is not a DVD. All right, hold on. According to Google, a video compact disc is a digital video format. Go away, ad. Used for storing video on standard compact discs. Video compact discs can be played on dedicated video compact disc players, personal computers, and other players such as DVD players. So you're talking about a DVD. Digital audio tape CD killed the concept. I went to school on a DVD. I know what they are. Then why did you... All right. You just... you trying to make all of us seem old because you the youngest one up in here. All right. Anyways, me and Tyre need a Catholic perspective on this. Let me bring this back up. It's a short. This is about as like big as the screen can get, but you guys will hear it. Hey, where's the audio? Oh, here we go.
Maybe not cool, but
all right, we gotta start this over.
Way back in the dark.
No, start over. You know what? Do this.
Did you know that the Roman Catholic Church used to be cool with same-sex marriage? Okay, maybe not cool, but way back in the dark.
I'll take former Catholic too. Just any Catholic with knowledge on this subject. Please break this down for us.
There was an order of uniting of two men, with one famously documented case between a Roman army commander, St. Sergius, and his deputy, St. Bacchius. This was a ceremony practiced historically in Orthodox Christian tradition to unite together two people of the same sex, normally men, in a church-recognized relationships. It's kind of similar to siblinghood. These ceremonies often included all the things in a typical wedding, the couple blessed at the altar together, and usually a big banquet to celebrate after. These two particular men were tortured and beheaded once their secret sexuality was exposed, because, you know, it wasn't meant to be a sexual thing. And then they were both stripped of their sainthood by the church in 1969. But, you know, it's our history. However, the close friendship between St. Sergius and St. Bacchus was emphasised throughout history, making them one of the most well-known examples of paired saints. So we've got that. Did you know that the Roman Catholic Church used to be cool with same-sex marriage?
All right, so now that we've heard it, all the Catholics in the chat, is she capping? Because they do twist history to, like, you know, to fit their narrative. Now, here's one comment I found, not hers, because she's kind of... Here it is. I found this comment, and this sounds more legit than whatever this chick was talking about. It says, 1, they were tortured and beheaded because they converted to Christianity, not because of their sexuality. They were in the Roman army, which was famously cool with same-sex relationships. If these guys were gay, then the Romans wouldn't have had a problem with that. The Roman soldiers were supposed to worship at the Temple of Mars, and once Sergius and Bacchus converted to Christianity, they didn't want to go to the temple anymore. That's how they got discovered. Then it says point number 2. They were not stripped of their sainthood. Their feast day is on the official Catholic calendar for October 7th. They're listed on the Vatican website. Doesn't get more official Catholic than that. All the Catholics in the chat. So where's, hold on, let me start from right here. Jorge was like, I don't believe this happened. Cap. Okay. It sounds cap based on this, this comment as well. It sounds more accurate. Let's look it up too. It says they have a feast day on October 7th. So, Saints feast day on October 7th. Whoops, caps lock is still on. All right, we have a list of saints whose feast day is on October 7th, which is what they said. Oh, really? Said traditional Catholics wouldn't agree. Sounds about right, too. Here it is. Saint Bacchius is right here. Which is what she said, that they got stripped of their sainthood and all that other crap. Yet it's right here on the calendar. They still have a whole feast day, which is what this comment literally said. Yeah, I'm going to have to take her video as cap. Oh, look at this. I didn't even see this. This person said it's revisionist history. No point in arguing. That makes sense. That makes sense. We literally have people purposely trying to screw history for their agenda. Facts. Facts. We are all saints. That's biblical. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I love it. What does cap mean? Oh, it just means they're lying. That's all that means. I wonder what would happen if I became Catholic. Why don't you just run it for us one time and let us know how that goes, Tech Boy? Because I know how your household is, so that's why I'm saying that. It's like, let us know how it works out with you and your household. Yeah, here's another one. It says, sad this creator didn't bother Googling this topic before this video was made. Yeah, so they just made some nonsense up. That's crazy. This being canonized is pure man's religion. You don't want to become Catholic. Hey, you put it out there. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? What if I lost salvation? By becoming Catholic, I'm pretty sure you don't lose salvation by becoming Catholic. You're still Christian. Like, you're still Christian at the end of the day. Humans are entertaining. Facts. All right, let's watch this next one. This is from Cross-Examined, but this is Melissa Doherty. And it says, the kind of rebellion Jesus would approve with Melissa Doherty. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is another short too, so it's about as big as I can make the screen.
I remember growing up as a rebellious teenager, thinking I was going to be the kid that stood out, who was going to be different. But what I didn't realize is that virtually everyone else was doing the exact same thing. This is nothing new. Today, in the pursuit of people doing everything they can to be different, I have ironically found that they end up being exactly the same. It seems that everyone wants to stand out, but because the need to fit in overrides that, everyone ultimately ends up being a clone of everyone else. It seems
Pretty
totally
much.
backwards that each generation wants to be different, but nobody actually wants to go against the crowd. This is exactly how you rebel, though. Today, the moral teachings of Jesus are increasingly considered bigoted,
Yes.
hateful, and harmful. For the Christian, we need to know how to stand in what Jesus taught in love and truth. It's not love or truth, it's truth and love. Living this way makes you a rebel. I remember growing up as a rebel.
Facts. She's right. You notice, like, living for Jesus and following his way, you are automatically separated from the world. Like, you never gonna fit in. It just is what it is at that point. You gotta be cool with it. Because, I mean, you the rebel. You the rebel because you definitely not fitting in. You're not conforming to anything that anyone wants you to be. You're conforming to Jesus. So, I agree with her. I agree with her. What did you say, Tech Boy? I'm different at school. I'm called special and not from this generation. Hey, just keep being you, Tech Boy. We done told you that before. Keep being you. Keep being the Christian you are. Because that's all that matters at the end of the day. All these kids and how they act in high school, everybody grows up at some point, right? You'll notice once you get older and you've like lived a couple years through life and yada, 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 you'll notice on Facebook or whatever the social media platform is going to be at that point for you. You're going to notice the kids you went to school with, some of them are still going to be living in that mindset because like that's where they peaked, right? High school is going to be their best years. Others are going to be done grown out of whatever mindset they were in, have families. And some are going to ironically turn into you because they're going to find God or they're going to become more conservative, whatever it is. So you'll see. Let some time go by. Canonization is just the way that the church officially recognizes you as a saint. It's not creating saints, it's affirming what we already know. You've mentioned this before. We talked about this, I think one of the streams when I was playing Fortnite. Our identity is in Christ. Facts. Yup, John, right here. We are not of this earth. Our home is in heaven with God. And look, I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to go home. I cannot wait. Don't forget the Uncle Tom 2 shorts sometimes. We could find some. I don't mind playing them. Oh, yeah, because Tech Boy hasn't seen it. People say I may become super liberal. I just have to disprove them. Just keep being you. Don't. It ain't even about disproving anybody. Like, just be you. Like, they'll see what it is. It's everything's gonna happen on its own. Yeah, upside down world and total effect. I hope that the future improves. Well, we know how the Bible goes, so unfortunately, it's not gonna happen. But we good though, so I mean, hey, you know, it is how it is. I must prove myself to the school that I shan't fail. Must prove to the GCCF that I can win president. Tech Boy, just be you. Neither have I. I've seen the first Uncle Tom. Man, if I could run Uncle Tom 2 on here one day without getting... Oh, look at this. They have the opening 20 minutes for free on Uncle Tom's page. So I technically, I could run the first 20 minutes without penalty. I can. Oh, and these are the shorts from Uncle Tom. Which one should we pull? Ooh, let's do this one. I'm just gonna pull random ones. That's all. He said the first Uncle Tom was on YouTube for free, I think. Yeah, that's how I watched it. Oh, they're charging for it now. Okay, well, how much is it? You get the first 2 minutes for free. Right, but like outside of that, what would this cost if somebody wanted to buy or rent? Oh, it's only 99 cents to rent the first Uncle Tom. That's actually not bad. Okay, and then what about Uncle Tom 2? How much to buy or rent that? So to rent it in HD, it's only $5. $4 if you want SD, but who wants SD? You might as well just pay the extra $1 and get HD. Or you could buy it for $15. Hey, my man's making money off of it now. So I must have saw it when it like first came out, because it definitely was free when I first saw it. Yeah, because it was on his page. It's not even on the page anymore. So yeah, I mean, $1 to rent it, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Whoa, let me stop that real quick. What is Uncle Tom? Uncle Tom is a documentary. That's what we told you to watch last week, and you didn't watch it. You said, just think about St. Lawrence being grilled alive. Flip me over. I'm done on this side. I told my husband that story. So how I told him that story, it was funny. We went to church, and they were talking about the story of John the Baptist one week. And my husband was so blown away by that story, because he can't believe that that's how John the Baptist, like how he died and everything. He couldn't believe that's how his story ended, considering like who he was meant to be, right? So I was telling my husband, I was like, yeah, that's what his purpose was for, yada, yada, yada. When they were done talking about that, because the way my church works, we always end with like 1 or 2 songs and then go home. Once the song started, he was like, I gotta use the bathroom. And I noticed it took him like a minute to come back. And when he came back, he was on his phone. And he like leaned in to my ear and he was like, I was Googling the story because it's just crazy what happened to him. So when we left, I was telling him about like how other people's journeys were, right? How it ended for them. Basically how they ended up being martyrs, because that's how when he read it on his own, right? That's what he got as well from Google. other than just the pastor saying the same thing. So I ended up telling him the story of the guy being grilled alive. And I was like, yeah, if I'm ever a martyr, like, that's gonna be me. My husband will be a deacon? I doubt it. I don't think he's gonna hold any church positions. Now, with that said, I am saying this now, but I have noticed like little changes in him because he, like, ever since he started going to church with me, he's been paying attention to like the stories and stuff that the pastor talks about, and we'll get breakfast afterwards, and like he'll bring up the conversation of like talking about what we learned in church that day. And then he also prays before he eats now. So I'm noticing all the small little changes, and I love it. I'm just like, wow, I didn't think this was going to happen, but I'm pleasantly happy that it is. You know what I'm saying? Saying that's awesome. I'm glad hubby is curious. Yeah, I am too, because I didn't think it was going to go this way. I'm going to be honest with you. Most died horribly. Yeah, we had that conversation in the car. Breakfast that day was interesting. I went through a lot of stories with him. It was pretty funny. Speaking of martyrs, I went to a school and read Fox's Book of Martyrs, and it was supposed to encourage me, but scared me. And I asked what would happen if I denied Jesus. Yeah, you did this on Christian Game Room when I was playing Fortnite that day. That's how we got into the whole conversation of dying for Jesus, becoming a martyr, talking about becoming saints. That's when Jorge told us the story of the guy being grilled alive. That's the day we talked about all of that. Amen. Thank God for his transformation. Yeah, I'm happy because I pray every night. Like, other than praying for like, you know, family and you guys and stuff, when it comes to like praying over him, one of the things I do pray for is that it's like, you know, I hope his heart softens so he can keep getting closer to God and, you know, understanding him and getting closer to the Lord, yada, 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 stuff like that. So Tech is talking smack about Uncle Tom 1. Sir, I was about to play something else that Tyree sent me, but you're going to make me play like the first 20 minutes of Uncle Tom 2. All right? Like how you going to talk smack? You don't even know what it is. This is, hold on. This right here is blasphemous, my boy. You don't want to be a martyr? What's wrong with you? You might want to flip that around. You do want to be a martyr. What you mean? You too scared? Of what? I don't know. This is the thing you kept telling us. You said you're afraid of a gunshot wound. First off, Tech Boy, none of us knows how we're going to die. So like, how do you live life every day? Let's start there. Because you have to have enough faith to leave that house. You don't know if you're making it back home alive. You don't know if you're about to make it. You have to have enough faith in God that he's going to protect you when you go out into the world every day and when you come back. So to sit here and be like, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that, I don't want to be this, you got to let all that go. You got to let all of that go. All right, to move on from that real quick. Deacons are awesome. Sure, they can't hear confession or consecrate the bread and wine into the Holy Eucharist, but if I was a priest, I'd thank my deacon every day. Yeah. My husband, he works with, he said one of the truck drivers is a pastor. He said they got into a conversation recently. Because he was telling the guy how, like, he goes to church, like, we go to church every week and stuff now. And I guess the guy was telling him, like, some of the stuff he does as a pastor at his church and how they got into a conversation about him doing, like, funerals and stuff. And my husband was like, I could never do that. It's too sad. And I was like, yeah, you could never be a pastor. It's okay. I don't think just so we're clear, biblically, I could never be a pastor. But if I was a guy, I don't think I could be a pastor because, like, I get emotional at church every week. I don't know how I would fare at a funeral. I would suck. I'd be horrible. Oh, you're talking to Tech Boy. Yeah, we won't even taste death, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Facts. I can't wait. I can't wait. And then when I see all of y'all, I'm gonna high five all of y'all and be like, we made it. We made it. Matthew 16:21-28. I know what this is. I know exactly what this is. NIV, we can leave it on NIV. So just to have this here, saying you'd make an incredible Sunday school teacher. Aw, thank you. I probably would if I get better with everything, because I'm still pretty new, but if I ever had like, because you know you're dealing with kids in Sunday school. You're just dealing with kids all the time. If I get a couple years under my belt, I think I'd be proficient enough to teach the children. I think that would be kind of cool. All right, so Matthew 16:21-28. Jesus predicts his death. So that from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. Pardon me. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, this shall never happen to you. Jesus turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns. Facts. Then Jesus said to his disciples, Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. Bars. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Facts. Truly, I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. All right, Jesus be spitting, man. Jesus really do be spitting. That's why as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, all right, I know what this is. I know exactly what this is. My dad goes to a funeral almost every week. Yeah, your dad's a pastor. Didn't you say that? Yeah, you did. Hold on, I hear y'all. I see where y'all talking to Tech Boy. You said, do you want to live forever without dying? And Tech Boy said, maybe. Ooh, you got some growing to do. I'm going to just leave it at that, Tech Boy. You got some growing to do. Saying you just bringing the story to life. Hey, I be trying. I really do like reading a lot of stuff Jesus says, though, because he really did have some bars when he was talking, like all the time. There was never anything he said that was just like for nothing. Everything he said is impactful. Like, I love it, man. I love it. All right. Since Tech Boy ain't seen Uncle Tom, let's run the first 20 minutes since it's on here. Actually, this says 24 minutes and 58 seconds. So yeah, let's watch this. Saint Peter is a constant reminder that Jesus doesn't pick the equipped, he equips those who he calls. Facts. And it says that in the Bible too. It says it. We here for a reason. I mean, he is the Son of God. Yeah, he is the Son of God. Yeah, you right. You right. Boo. I get why they did it. YouTube sucks. This is why you gotta rent or buy it. All right, Jorge, we'll see you in a minute.
My hope is that this will help to break the spell. The spell that so many people are under. That keeps them angry, makes them bitter,
ice cubes.
blinds them from the truth, and realize that they're being deceived, that they've been lied to, that we've all been lied to our entire life.
Okay, so pause real quick. For those that have never seen the first one, this guy that we're watching work, he's the guy that made the documentary, right? 1 and 2. I saw an interview with him actually not too long ago. And this, I can't stand my community sometimes, but he was talking to some black men and they were really trying to discredit him as a filmmaker for like making this documentary, because they were like, well, how do you know X, Y, and Z when you just do this as a day job? And I'm like, are you serious? I was like, so this man can't know history or anything else about life just because like his day job is like construction work or whatever he does. He has like a trade job. And I'm like, so that disqualifies him for making this documentary, even though it contains straight facts? They were trying to reject his everything he was saying. They were trying to reject it. And once they never had a retort for anything. He had facts from history. He had dates. He knew everything. Plumbing, that's what it is, right? Yeah, he makes bank. Dude makes money. This is another issue I have where people think trade jobs don't make money, but that's that's a whole other thing. But every time he would say something, they had no retort for it, right? They would go straight to name calling, and then they started like discrediting him because of his job. And I'm like, you guys are a bunch of idiots. And this right here is literally what's wrong with the black community. I was like, he's trying to educate y'all and tell y'all what it is and how it is and how you need to really advocate for yourselves, right? Instead of waiting for handouts and all this other stupid nonsense. And instead of taking that in, they just called him names and clowned him for having a job. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah, this right here. Tradesmen retire early. Every person I know in a trade makes bank. Makes bank. And it's crazy because most people I know with a college degree are in debt. And they don't make the money that, you know, when we were in high school and middle school, and they're like, go to college, get a degree, you'll make it. Most of them have like school debt, and they don't really make the money that they thought they was going to make getting whatever degree they got. Now, I'm not going to lie. Some of them did, right? I know some people I went to school with went on to be like doctors and lawyers and stuff. Cool. They did right with the degree they got. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. A lot of them, school was a big party. They barely passed. They did enough to get the paper, and they just have like a regular job, right? Nothing wrong with that, but in the same breath, when you want to talk about like life and people be like, oh, I can't believe this is my life and blah, blah, it's like, we all have the same life. Either you want to make change, which we all have time to do that. Like, you could change in your 40s and 50s. It's never too late. You can make that change, right? Or you could just come home after work and do nothing and complain, and it's everybody else's fault. Everybody else's fault. I can't stand those type of people. I couldn't stand them before I was Christian. I can't stand them now that I am Christian. Yeah, that's people showing their ignorance that all humans are born with potential. Yeah, we all here for a reason. It's our jobs to figure that out. That's all it is. The Apostle Paul was a tent maker too. Cash money. Telling you, trade jobs. That's why, what's it say in the Bible? God said we supposed to work with our hands. That's probably why that's where the money is. Everybody wants it easy. Everybody wants easy money. Everybody. You talk to a teenager. Man, my little cousin, this dude don't want to work, which blows my mind. Because I remember when I was a teenager, all I wanted to do was get a job. I used to hustle up. I used to find ways to make money. I got my first job at 14. I was hustling. This dude, they was at like they told me they was at KFC or something one day. And you know, nobody wants to work nowadays. So they looked at him. They was like, hey man, you want a job? We'll hire you right now. You can start today. We so short-handed. Ugh, I would never work fast food. But excuse me? Come again? You like 15. You better work some fast food. You better go get some of this fast food money. What are you talking about? Dude just want to play video games all day. Like, come on now. This right here, all of this annoys me. I grew up with dudes doing this. And they still trying to do it. And it's like the whole basketball thing. I don't know anybody who made it to the league in basketball wise. I know one person that they technically made it football wise, but their career wasn't great. They end up being like on the sideline, like the 3 or 4 years they were in the NFL, and then I think they went to the Canadian League for like a year after that, and it was like done. They weren't that good, but to make it that far, money was made. Now, if they were smart with it, they were smart with it, right? I still know people that deal drugs, and I'm just like, bro, get your life together. Like, we're technically middle-aged, right? Because most people die, like, the average age of death is like 70-something. So I'm like, we're technically middle-aged right now. Please stop stealing drugs. Like, it's over. I know people still trying to be rappers. Once again, I was like, we're middle-aged. You would never make it in the game at your age. They go younger. So please stop. Please get it together. Tyree said I worked in a comic shop, fast food, Blockbuster, military, and government. Y'all saw the upgrade? That's technically how it's supposed to go. The only way, say Tyree stayed in fast food or Blockbuster. Well, okay, Blockbuster gone now, but let's just say Blockbuster never died, right? The only way Tyree should have still been in them positions if she was like moving up in the company. So if she was like, hey, I'm manager now, or like district or general, whichever one is next. I could see that. Like if you start as a teenager and then you move up in age. I know it's crazy. I know people with like retail jobs or like entry level jobs where they've been in it since they were like a teenager or in college, but they stayed in the entry level position. Because you guys know with any job, your salary increase gets capped at a certain point because they're not going to keep increasing your salary and you staying in this like one position forever, right? The goal is to move up in the company. So say we're going to take fast food, for example. You cashier or you make fries or something. You did that at 16 and you now 36 and you still the person making the fries. I would have to look at you sideways and be like, yo, you didn't want to at least try to be a manager, at least in the slightest? Oh, I don't nobody want that responsibility. You know how many people I know that had that mindset? And I'm like, huh? But in the same breath, they be like, man, I don't make enough, man. They need to pay us more. I got a family. It's like, hey, yo. It's like, do you realize the job you're in? Either move up or get out. Like this, it's crazy. You can't keep being the fry guy. Okay? You gotta move up. Wish school taught personal finance more. I wish that too. But that's never gonna happen. But they will teach your kids about dildos and drag queens though. That's why you gotta homeschool your kids. You must advance. You also must be able to sell yourself. Facts. Yeah. Move up or move out. This right here. My last job. Remember when I told y'all I was in robotics? Y'all know how I got the position of manager? I started at an entry-level position. I had no schooling for that. I had no schooling at all. Same as what Tyree just wrote. It was just experience. It just happens over time. You're naturally, as long as you're a good worker and you just do your job, because that's really all it boils down to. As long as you just do your job, you'll move up. You'll move up. I loved commission paid for performance jobs. Harder you work, more you earn. Labor, yeah. Them jobs. Yeah, them jobs was the best. When I was 16, my late cousin worked at Zaire, and he had $200 in cash in his pants and a $900 check in his top. Ooh, cousin was balling. That's how it's supposed to be, though. All right, we went off track. But I was just trying to explain who the dude was on the screen for those that had never seen it.
My hope is that people will begin to wake up.
You said I'd rather be playing guitar if I could play guitar than be some sound guy. That depends. That depends, because in the music world, the sound people get paid first. The sound people, so it depends. If you're the guitar guy in the band and y'all on contract and all these other crazy things, the band get paid last. But if you just the guitar guy that got hired as well to be on stage, yeah, you getting paid first. Yes, I love this. Yes. We just don't look like this no more.
If you care to...
Hey, before he gets to talking, you saw how they had the parties and they was all together and stuff. You know what saddened me the older I got? And this lets me know how trash my generation and the generations after me are. Every holiday, right? I just don't see like celebration spreads like how it was when I was a kid. So this is what I mean. Like Thanksgiving. I don't really see people be like laying it down for Thanksgiving and Christmas no more in terms of like food and having like family and stuff over. Like I did it because like that's how I grew up. But I noticed that's not a thing anymore. So to give like a more recent example, Memorial Day was last Monday. Tell me why when I was out riding and chilling outside all day, I ain't see no barbecues. Like it was rare to see people just cooking out with the music and stuff on and having a good time. That's just not a thing anymore. That's so weird. It's so weird. I don't see kids outside playing in parks anymore. I don't know. Everything's so different now. Nobody does anything. I can't stand it. I'm gonna be real with you. I can't stand it. Cause when I think about when I was a kid, like as soon as I get up after eating breakfast, I'd be outside all day. And it's crazy because I played video games coming up. I just didn't live on them. Like I went outside and touched some grass. We've lost our way. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. Because even last year, when I think back to it, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, all that. All the holidays where you know your parents, the grill was going to be starting up. Basically, 11 in the morning or 12, the grill was on, right? Oh, the meat was being laid out. The music could be playing. Your parents had it going, right? You go outside with your friends. You would come back. They had the drinks and the snacks going. They'd be like, oh, food about to be ready. All y'all come through. You and your friends was just like, wow, if we hit all the houses, we could eat at everybody's house. Because everybody's mamas and daddies was doing it. Now, all people want to do is be like, I want to Uber eat some food and some alcohol and we can hang out. No, cook. Cook some meals. Cook a meal. Bothers me so much. Ugh. It started with my generation. They so trash. I can't stand it. Yup, you can walk safely outside. Yup, that was a thing. Look what Jorge said. When I was a kid, we had Thanksgiving dinner at 3 houses that day. Facts, you would just go from house to house. It's not a thing anymore. It's like that don't happen. Always want to order out from somewhere or get drunk. Don't nobody want to do that. Light a grill. Put some ribs on. It don't cost it. Man, if you get everybody to come over, you tell everybody to bring something, you got food to feed everybody. I feel like it costs more money to do Grubhub and all that than to just buy a pack of meat and cook it. Yes, everybody bring a plate home too. I hope, especially America, I hope America does find their way back to God. See, what did I say? What did I say before I highlight this? What did I say? My generation and under is trash. Look what he just wrote. Why don't you like takeout? Takeout is good. This sounds better, Tech Boy. I don't even drink, but it's just the grilling aspect and hanging out. It like while y'all cooking food together, it's an experience. The men on the grill, the women in the kitchen, the kids are outside playing. Technology is amazing. She said, I'm not trash. Tech Boy, I included myself in that. My generation and down, we are garbage, bro. As a whole. Not you specifically, but as a whole. But you did kind of prove my point. You did kind of prove my point. Look at this. Halloween night, this one neighbor cooked hot dogs and other yummy stuff for the whole neighborhood. This does not happen anymore. How many neighbors nowadays would take the food and actually eat it and not just take it out like, oh, thank you, and then get in the house? I don't know what that crazy man give us. He might be trying to kill us, and just throw it away. Yup, time with family. Cooking is awesome to end. This, once again, this. You just keep proving my point, bro.
It's very clear that something is going on here. There's something to this, man.
Yes. Yeah. That's not a thing.
Have we been lied to this whole time?
Yes, we've been lied to. You saw she showed off the ring on her finger? Hold on, mine's around my neck.
I'm here at Fort Monroe in Hampton, once known as Point Comfort, the very spot where the first...
They was happy. They was happily showing their rings off that they was married. Now that's not a thing anymore. That's not a thing anymore. People would rather be baby mamas. You know how sad that is? The last job I had, I'll never forget this conversation. This chick literally had a conversation with me about how she was nervous about marrying like some guy that was into her or something. Whatever it was, she was nervous about marriage as a whole. And she was like, I don't think I would ever get married and blah, 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 blah. But in the same breath, I was talking about how she didn't mind having some dude's baby. Mind you, the guy was a loser. He was already a baby daddy to like 4 other kids he wasn't taking care of. And I'm like, why would you even want to be part of that equation? That makes no sense. That makes no sense in the slightest. And I'm like, you're afraid of marriage. but you want to be baby mama number like 4 or 5 or something. You think that's more like acceptable? And she wasn't the only girl that thought that either. And it's just, and you can see it in society. If we look at our community, Naomi Osaka, she a baby mama. Why don't her and the rapper dude get married, right? Instead of doing it the right way, now she a baby mama. Rihanna a baby mama. She a billionaire baby mama. That don't even make sense. Just get married. It just does. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Enslaved Africans arrived in America 401 years ago in 1619. The atrocities my ancestors endured, packed and stacked on slave ships like pieces of property, brought to this country to build it with their blood, sweat, and tears. Psychiatrists say trauma like that can affect a people for generations.
Facts.
7-year-old
Amen.
Renta Amore Rogers' passion during a recent protest in New York struck a chord across the country.
Get married or don't have sex. That's technically the way to go, Tech Boy. That's technically the way to go. Most people don't live by this though, because most people aren't Christian. I'll say this, because I wasn't Christian either. If you're gonna live the lifestyle of just having sex, you at least need to be in a relationship, and you still need to be using condoms. That's the best I can give if you're not gonna go the Christian way, because most people aren't, right? At least try to protect yourself as best as possible if you're not gonna do it how God wants us to do it. But that's not a thing either, because we know many people that be like, condom? What's a condom? I'm about to have raw sex all the time. Haha. And it's like, that's gross. That's so gross.
The amount of passion in her voice, in her eyes for a child that young made me not just see her, it made me see our ancestors before her.
So that little girl learned that from history. She learned that from her parents. And that's even like why it's so important for us to continue to tell the stories.
Nationally renowned psychiatrist Dr. Dion Metzger says the unrest we see today is 401 years in the making.
And the point of slavery, to the point of, whippings and killing and lynchings.
The whole idea of using slavery today as an excuse for the crime and dysfunction in the Black community doesn't make a lot of sense.
It sure don't. It sure don't.
If you look at the Blacks that came out of slavery, they were relatively prosperous, and you did not have the dysfunction and crime that you see taking place today.
It's not woke, Tech Boy, I promise
Black
you.
people are constantly being told that because of slavery, because of systemic racism, that their anger and their bitterness and their rage is justified.
Is it possible that as Black people, we are experiencing a PTSD from what they went through 401 years ago?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just because we didn't experience it, us learning about the history or even from family stories, it's the same thing.
This right here.
That does not make a lot of sense, given that Blacks coming out of slavery had lives that were more functional. The functionality of Black lives at the turn of the century was because Blacks were deeply religious people. They adhered to strong Judeo-Christian values and principles. And to the extent that they get further and further away from those principles, I think that you see more dysfunction in Black communities because they've lost the anchor.
Yeah, she's right. She's absolutely right.
Church was the central point. It was the center point of social gathering, culture, religious activity, everything.
That's what it's supposed to be. Back in the day, after church, you were supposed to go to Big Mama's house or whoever was hosting it, right? You're supposed to have a family meal, right? That don't really happen no more because don't nobody really go to church. That's why I like the tradition me and my husband got going on. As soon as church is over, we go out as a little family and we'll go get breakfast. And like I told you guys, we'll talk about what the pastor spoke on, what we learned, what we took from it. And then we come home and then, cause we older, we might nap, to be real with you. Might take a 1 or 2 hour nap to rest that food off. And then I'll start cooking, to be honest with you. He'll do yard work or whatever. But that's how it's supposed to be. Now, if we had kids, it'd be the same process, but we'd come home and probably go over some more learning or something. I don't know. Yeah, look, Jorge said the same thing. He said we went to mass and then we'd go eat breakfast at Denny's. Yeah. I go to church and we go Chick-fil-A. No, we normally get Bella Green. That's funny. That's what's up, though, Tech Boy. Hey, John, welcome to the stream. You caught the second one because YouTube yeeted my first one. They was like, nah.
Every Sunday, you woke up, you had breakfast with your mom and dad, and then all of us came out of the house at the same time, and we start walking toward Sunday school. Even if you couldn't sing, you're going to be in the youth choir. And then Wednesday, you would go to youth Bible study. And then the summer, you go to church retreat camp.
See, this sounds nice too.
Those were just expected things. And that formed a fundamental basis of the black community. It was that sense of right and wrong. It was that sense of morality. It was that sense of discipline that we had.
You were in the youth choir? Hold on, Tech Boy. You got pipes? You can sing? You can sing? Hold on. You might have to do a video for us real quick. I've met so many accomplished African Americans. At least 4 were my supervisors and awesome to follow because in the end, humans are humans. That's what's up. I've met some, awesome African Americans as well. Are you familiar with YouTuber Steve Terrorberry? I've never heard of that person. I'm gonna look him up real quick. Hold on. Take that off the charger.
The church was producing hope. It produced within the community a stability of purpose. It held us together. Families were strong. Dad was there. Mom was there. The children were growing up under the influence of a 2-parent home. That all changed.
It's not because of racism. It's not because of police brutality.
He builds
it's not because of slavery. Cool. It's not because of Jim Crow. It's not because of white supremacists and white privilege and all that crap they're telling you now. It's because of lack of character.
This the gutter right here. You feel me?
Niggas die for this shit.
Die for this shit.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Like, niggas die for this shit. Niggas live for this shit. Got born and raised. In jail for this shit.
TG. Free all our homies, everybody. Free little Dub, little baby Dub.
Black people lost character.
Sink this slow.
Look at all the neighborhoods, the communities, the cities where blacks have taken over.
Fell down a little bit.
When they move into those areas, they're very nice. But by the time the blacks are done with them, crime, homelessness, they don't paint their home, they don't clean up. It just become a mess.
We grew up to this like ain't nothing.
It's because of lack of family, and most black people today do not believe in God.
All right, I'll check it out. Jorge.
They believe about him, but they don't believe in him. It wasn't that way when I was growing up, but it's that way today.
If you walk through any black urban community, you see many black men standing on corners doing nothing.
Get this paper. That's the only thing you can do, unless these niggas won't smoke, you know? Okay.
Young, middle-aged, and old. Because they're operating under a definition that is different from what God has defined for them as their role as men.
We go to other spots, up, beating up, come through this motherfucker, you gonna die. You gonna die. You can't even come to the store and get no motherfucking bottle. You gonna get robbed and killed. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is.
See, Tech Boy, this right here, I know he more than likely gonna give you the answer. This is why you gotta watch part 1. Part 1 actually breaks all this down.
And do a lot of hate.
Sometimes I'm ashamed of black people because we let people take advantage of us.
And you can't even call me back tomorrow?
What are we projecting to the world? What are we rapping about?
Porn star, big booties, let me film it, then shoot it. 3D money, no illusion.
It's scary to me at times.
Might hit your line, bitch.
That is not black culture. That's a facade. Throughout history, black folks were honorable. They had integrity. That's what black people were. But now, our black people are Jay-Z, Cardi B, George Floyd.
We like to deify
it's sad,
our idols. Now that's after we've burned down our own stores.
This never made sense to me. I never understood the whole, like, I'm upset over this this social atrocity. Let's burn up our own neighborhoods. Yeah! It's like, I never understood that. And they try to justify it so much. They're like, we did this because we're angry about this. And I'm like, then burn the police station, burn City Hall, protest there. Why are you burning your own crap? And then looting your own crap on top of that. That never made sense to me. Then the justification of doing it never made sense. They can't explain it. Just never got it.
After we've destroyed our own neighborhoods. After we rob our own local businesses.
I just said
after there are no more sneakers to steal. Then we'll paint murals on the wall. Our young black boys and black girls are being taught to look up to these individuals. That the purpose in life is to be memorialized on a wall like this.
Images are...
What's funny is there's an old silent movie called Metropolis. A bunch of workers do that as well. We're gonna have to look that up. We're gonna have to look that up.
Powerful.
Whose funeral? George Floyd's? Perhaps, ooh, this makes sense. Perhaps looting was the only intention. Protest was just the excuse. That actually might be it. There was a video, I think in Buffalo or something, or when it was like snowing outside. They had like really bad blizzard. And there was a woman on TikTok trying to justify people stealing stuff during the blizzard. And she was like, just because you white people can afford blah, 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 but we struggling out here and we're cold and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, it's a blizzard. We're not talking about people that's like stuck outside and they busted a window or a door down to get inside to like get shelter. We're talking about people destroying businesses and stealing stuff because it's a blizzard. That still don't make no sense. And then taking it back to their house. It never made sense. It just never made sense. So yeah, maybe that's the excuse and looting is what they were just going to do all along. I never bought the girlfriend story. I was like, This would not happen if he followed the law, so I did not care. But when the guy was arrested, and I was like, yay. And then my parents said, I hope he stays there and does not get out on good behavior. I'm surprised your parents said that. Oh, are you talking about the cop? Or are you talking about when George got arrested? Because if you watch the documentary from Candace Owens and stuff, but the reports were out at the time too. He didn't die because that guy's knee was on his back. He died because he was having a drug overdose. That's why he died. So yeah, the girlfriend's story wouldn't have never made sense. Yeah, and when they protest, it's not even for food. They want the 70-inch TV. Makes no sense. Yeah, they need the Nikes and the TV to feed the family. Doesn't make any sense.
You look on churches, powerful images of saints and figures from the Bible, and the goal to communicate the meta-narrative of Scripture. Who we are, why we're here, what's wrong with the world, and how can what is wrong be made right. Your worldview, your religion answers those questions. What we're seeing today is another religion communicating another meta-narrative and another worldview. And these murals are the stained glass windows of this new religion.
Oh, you were talking about when the cop was arrested. Oh, okay. All right. Because when you said your parents said, I hope he stays there and doesn't get out, that's what threw me off for a second. But if they're talking about the cop, that makes way more sense. They were talking about the cop. He also pointed a gun at a pregnant woman and robbed her. Yeah, he wasn't a good person, and they made him out to be like some sort of like martyr for the Democrats. And I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here. That pastor has such powerful messages. Facts. Did you know the Kwanzaa... Hold on. Did you know the Kwanzaa inventor beat women with electrical cords? I did not know that. That's interesting. The more you know. Do, 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 do. The little rainbow comes up. Vadi Bakum. I love Vadi, man. Vadi's awesome. Yep, because this makes sense. Because why not?
I wish we didn't have to do this. I wish it wasn't the case that these kind of things were going on, but they are. And these things are going on because we're at war. And I say that, and that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. This idea of the war that we're a part of, the battle that we're a part of, the war that is raging in the marketplace of ideas. When we go to the marketplace of ideas, we have to be reminded of Paul's words. Though we walk according to the flesh, we are not waging war in the flesh. This is not an easy battle to engage in. Our adversary is vicious, unrelenting, and there are some who've been captured by him to do his will.
Did that man like rip a tomato over his eye? What was that? No, we gotta take it back for like 1 second. What is this? The way he's just like, he squeezed it in his eye and then he cracked it over his eyes. Like, what was the point of this?
And there are some who've been captured by him to do his will.
Yeah, you tell him, buddy. Yeah, you tell him.
But remember this. We
Oh,
walk in
yeah,
the
you
flesh.
told
We're not
them.
waging war
Oh, yeah.
according to the flesh. We're not at war with people.
Yeah, F you, coppers, yeah.
In Ephesians 6, he makes it clear. This war is with principalities and powers, not with people. This is a spiritual battle. This is spiritual warfare.
This is. My man broke out the song lyrics. Hey, it's the same thing Antifa does. If you ever seen them at the, like, protecting the alphabet community, you could go ask questions or something. They'll all come up with, like, big cardboard signs and stuff and be trying to block you, or they'll just try to subtly bump you out the way. And it's like, you know, stop acting like a little punk and get active. Because the moment we get active, it's over for you.
What happened? Police. Call the police. Get shot. Call police.
I see the
Did you hear
supremacy of
that?
Christ being.
They said, call the police, he got shot. But these are also the same people that say, defund the police. Make that make sense.
Challenged. What did Marx hate? He hated God. This is a war against God. And I don't want to see people deceived.
Why is Black Lives Matter important for the U.S. right
It's
now
not. It's
and in
not,
the world?
you scammers.
Black Lives Matter is our call to action.
He was concerned that there's a lack of ideological direction in Black Lives Matter.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
Communism begins with this German named Karl Marx. 100 years ago, he created the theory of communism in one of his books.
If you have the founders of Black Lives Matter saying that they're trained Marxists, how does Marxism relate to the black community? If you're talking about a community that is deeply rooted in the Judeo-Christian faith heritage, then how do you make that connection?
This is the book, an official copy printed in Moscow, which
This as
explains
well.
that communism
This
is
as
based
well.
on two
They
main
have no
ideas.
idea.
That all religion is bad and that all private property is bad. Therefore, Marx said, religion must be destroyed.
It was Karl Marx who says, my goal in life is to dethrone God and to destroy capitalism.
His thinking and his writing concentrated on relationships of power.
Tech Boy, watch this movie. Start with the first one. It's only 99
Uncle Tom
cents.
2 is an odyssey depicting the gradual demoralization of America through Marxist
infiltration of its institutions.
Hey, it's Gothic.
This film explores how this deceptive ideology has torn apart the fabric of society while using Black America as it's #1 tool for its destruction.
Oh, my man
If
went
you
and
watch
bought
this
it.
film, it's gonna mess with your head.
I mean, I just watched it, man. It's just mind blowing.
Yep.
Uncle Tom 2 explains what's going on in this world like I've never seen before.
There's not a movie out there currently that's like this one.
The Uncle Tom movie has certainly left me flabbergasted because I'm like, I can't believe what I'm watching right now. But the evidence is so strong, only a fool can deny the effect of that.
There's a lot of information that most Americans do not know. I don't care if you white, black, whatever. There's a lot of information that's brought forward in the documentary that people just don't know about our history, and about a lot that's happening in our current culture.
It's so.
You said you don't have 99 cents? Yikes. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, we watched one of their videos before, Tyree, because you sent it to us. For the 99 cents, if I bought you the film, I don't even know how I would share it. Because I can't buy it through YouTube. Stream or order the DVD. Oh, you got all these options. Because Amazon, I could technically just send you a $5 Amazon gift card and you could just watch it this way. Or better yet, just so you can rent both. I'll put $10 on there and then you can rent both digitally. Oh, you have Amazon cards? Oh, well, you got it yourself then, Brody. I don't even need to send you a card now. See, you just told on yourself. You was about to get a free card and you just said you had them. Law and order means taking a dim view of rioting, thieving, and police misconduct also. Yeah, but we still need the police in some capacity though. We can't I don't like their version of fully defunding them because that doesn't make sense. I think we need better police training and I would like funding for that. I can't stand how it is now. You need more hours to be a barber than you do to be a police officer, and that's something I actually don't like. That needs to be fixed. But then again, that's so I think that's my issue with the left as a whole. Their kind of plan is just to destroy everything, right? Where it's like, I would rather fix things. Like, why not work towards this as a goal? Like, what can we do to fix this? Instead of, nah, let's just get rid of it. We don't need it. It's like, no, you do need it, right? But, like, this needs to be fixed. Let's work on fixing this. And maybe within, like, the next 10, 20 years, we'll have, like, a better version of the police than whatever we have in America right now. Same thing with, like, abortions, right? Their whole thing is, nah, I would rather kill the kid than put it in foster care because foster care sucks. It's like, okay, how about we fix the foster care system? Nah, rather kill the kid. It's like, I don't agree with any of that. It's just crazy. Yeah, this right here. Oh, your dad has the cards. If I add it to my account, I can't de-add it and give it back to my dad. So let me ask you a question, Tech Boy. Do you have your own Amazon account outside of like your parents' account? Because I know you said you can get, they're strict and you don't want to get in trouble for watching certain things. But if you have your own account that they are not attached to, I could technically get a digital gift card, send it to you, you apply it to your account, and then you can rent the movies through your account. And then watch them through your account, because the rental period doesn't start till you actually like press play and watch it. Except they don't know what is beyond their destruction. That's facts. I actually read Uncle Tom's Cabin, and Tom was not a subservient black man. Yeah, he wasn't. But most people don't know that, hence why the term is it's used completely wrong. It's used completely wrong. Make tech take the effort. You right. You do have your own account? All right. None of that matters if babies are hatched from pods and not birth. Oh, yeah. You're right. We did watch that 1 week. That's the future they're trying to head down. They want pod babies, which, horrible. Horrible. It's just like, it's all designer at that point. It's like, let's build a baby and birth it in a pod. That's so crazy. There's nothing natural. I can't stand it.
Did you know that Jesus...
I can't stand it. Oh, this video? I've seen this video before. But we can watch it together because it's very short. Tyree sent me another video. It's from Red Pen Logic. And it says, Progressive Christian shows how not to read the Bible. I actually seen this before because I love this account. Okay, we're going to watch it. This, the whole pod baby thing. Ugh. What does the Bible say about pod babies? Look, I'm telling you right now, the fact that they're probably going to figure out a way, because right now there's people, when they find out their baby might be born with like a birth defect or autism or something or some type of disease, they'll abort the baby, which is sad because they'll be like really far along in the pregnancy too, and they'll abort the baby. I would not be shocked if something went wrong with a pod baby where they think they're about to have this perfect little baby creation and something goes wrong and they'd be like, oh, we messed up and there's going to be like a slight deformity. It's not going to be returned. They're just going to kill it, just like they do now. That's going to be the return policy. I promise you, because they already do craziness now as it is. Is that sin? It may be weird, but is it sin? I think it's sin. I don't think we're supposed to be playing God and just creating our own versions of babies and stuff. Like, it's one thing, because we're not talking about somebody doing IVF, right? That's completely different. Like, you really want to have a baby and you're struggling, so like you and your family save up the money and you go through a whole IVF process. This is completely different. We're talking about like creating something on a computer, merging stuff together, pod baby. That has to be like frowned upon. This baby to family, this baby for stem cell research, this baby for eating. Don't even get me started on. I think we talked about that one week where like they eat the fetuses or they'll use it for like de-agifying cream and stuff. Don't even get me started on it. Don't even get me started.
Did you know that Jesus helped his friend come out? In John chapter 11, verse 43, this is what it says. Jesus called out in a loud voice saying, Lazarus, come out. You see, Lazarus was locked up in a cold, dark tomb, wrapped in burial cloths, left for dead. That's exactly what so many Christians and so many churches do to LGBT people. They wrap us up and bind us up and tell us that we need to keep our identity, our true self locked away. But Jesus, upon seeing Lazarus in this state, he says, Lazarus, come out. Step into the light. Take off the cloth. Be who you are. Come alive. I believe that this is what Jesus is speaking to every LGBT person. Come out of the tomb of shame. Take off the chains that have bound you up. Step into the glory of who God made you to be, fearfully and wonderfully made, just as you are. You are beloved of God.
This is one of the first videos I watched on this channel too, and I had the same expressions and everything. Yeah, this is definitely how not to read a Bible. You know, this is why study Bibles are great for people like that, where he just read, I don't even think he read that verse, that chapter. I don't think he read none of that. He just saw Lazarus come out and his brain was like, oh, Lazarus must have been gay and Jesus telling him to come out the closet. It's anybody that read any of that, like actually read it, would know that's not what that verse is about in the slightest. In the slightest. This, if you would have just read it.
This is a great example of how not to read the Bible. Here's why. There are two ways to approach the Bible, eisegesis and exegesis. I know those are weird words, but stick with me because this is really important.
Doesn't make
There's
sense.
a common interpretive error known as eisegesis. The word eisegesis just means to lead into. Basically, the reader injects his own ideas into the text, making it mean whatever the reader wants. On this view, the author's intended meaning doesn't matter. The opposite and proper approach, however, is known as exegesis. The word exegesis literally means to lead out of. Here, the reader is led to the author's intended meaning by following the text. This often requires careful analysis of the Bible. So there's two different approaches to studying scripture. The first reads his own meaning into the text, that's bad, while the second reads the author's meaning out of the text, that's good. Now, which do you think is going on in this video? Clearly,
his cup? You mean this? All I see is a microphone that says, keep calm, I'm an apologist. I'm just joking with you, John. I don't know. He does this for every video because once he's done, he throws his marker into the cup. So maybe it's just so we could just see him throw the marker in.
Robertson is starting with his own modern meaning
and
attempting
said it.
to force fit it into this ancient text. How do we know? Well, to come out is a modern English idiom. Idioms are time, culture, and language specific. Obviously, Jesus, a first century Jew, wasn't using a modern English idiom. But none of that matters because he isn't doing exegesis, he's doing eisegesis, reading his own meaning into
It's
the
cool.
text.
I feel the same.
Now you might be thinking, why does Robertson bother citing Jesus? It's because Jesus has authority. Unfortunately, rather than try to understand Jesus, Robertson misrepresents Jesus by making him say something he clearly didn't mean. There's a lesson here. If you want to cite Jesus as the authority, then let Jesus speak his own mind. And if not, leave him out of it.
And that was the video. Yeah, that guy, he needs a teacher, a study Bible, God, everything. That's the craziest twisting of scripture I think I've seen ever. Still to this day, that might be the craziest twisting of scripture. Wild. All right, hold on, because I have another video. Satan has his preachers too. Facts. I say this all the time, but you have to find the correct church. While that may be hard for some people, because I guess if you don't know what you're looking for, you're probably gonna fall prey to the wrong church at some point. Honestly, if you read the Bible, even though he just completely decimated scripture, but if you actually read the Bible and try to understand it for what it is, at some point you should look at your pastor and be like, hey, my man, this isn't right. But I don't know. It doesn't happen to everybody. Because if it did, we wouldn't have all these progressive churches to begin with. Okay, here it is, because I'm like, where's the video at? This title sounded wild. So this is basically pro versus anti-abortion, but the panel is all teenagers. And I'm like, that don't even make sense. That don't... But I wanted to see it because this might be interesting. You might have some teenagers with some sense, and then, you might have the other ones. Don't know what they're talking about. He's still teaching that way. The Apology of Studies debate with that guy is painful. There's a whole debate with him. Yikes. He said, what? I was just about to go to Beyonce mass. Oh yeah, Jorge, you missed it. You were watching The Race or something one night. And I ended off the stream. We were watching the video about the Beyonce mass, the Beyonce church. I was like, Jorge'd be losing his mind right now. He said Adrian Rogers was an awesome preacher too. He and Billy Graham were friends. I didn't know that. Why was I not invited? I'm a teen. Hey man, Jubilee, I always get them and Cut mixed up because one is in LA and one is like in Washington. Just go to their websites because they have to do casting calls or something, Tech Boy. But, I mean, that your parents will find out, so you might want to think about that. Aw, he said, glory to God. Glad I ended up with y'all. This little family way better than local churches. Love and respect. Aw. Thank you, K-Elf. There's nothing wrong with a good church, though, but if it's better than your local churches, then yikes. Yikes. That's good. At least you found a family to, like, learn and commune with. That's just as good at the end of the day. If you truly read your Bible, you will see that Jesus clearly created a church here on earth and that he prayed that the church be like one. He and the Father are one. Yeah, I think we talked about that in one of the streams too. I think I go through a lot of content sometimes, so I try to remember what I watched with y'all, what I watched on my own, and what I randomly pop in for sometimes with the Christian server. I could have sworn we talked about that. Maybe. We're supposed to fellowship with each other. Facts. That's facts. All right, let's see what these teenagers have to say about abortion. Your parents are anti? Okay, at least stay on the right side of the fence.
Order of human beings because you're pro-choice. And I'm standing here in
That's
where
a strong word.
where a fetus cannot.
You said killing a fetus, so it's not a strong word.
It's really not. But could I just finish my statement?
Tech boy, at some point, because I know they're your parents, but like Jesus said, he didn't come to bring peace and unity. He came to bring division. He came to separate, right? Because he wants us separated from the world. So if that means you have to be separated from your father and your mother and yada, 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 it's gonna suck and it's gonna hurt, right? Because I've went through that with a family member. It does suck in the beginning, but things happen for a reason. So if y'all, you become an adult and y'all part ways on certain views and stuff, sadly, you just gonna have to live with it. It just is what it is.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. I have had unprotected sex.
Oh no. Oh, they teenagers. Oh no. I already know somebody gonna step forward. Yo! That's most of them! What? Six out of 8. Mind you, this is crazy on so many levels, because like, yeah, teenagers I'm not even shocked they had sex. It's the unprotected part. Because already at this age, you take the whole pregnancy thing out the equation. STDs. Why does nobody ever think about STDs? Be right back. Gotta close the drapes and turn on the outside. All right, oh really? I see you. 2, you have to put in the embarrassment of virgins. No, they might have had sex. The prompt was unprotected. They could have wore condoms. Or, I mean, you might be right. They're on the anti-abortion side. They might be virgins as well.
So I see we all been getting it on. About that.
The first time that I had sex,
I just realized too, it's all the girls. Like the guys were the only 2 staying back. It was all the girls. I mean, you're right. Society does downplay STDs, and I don't know why. It's the most disgusting thing ever. And a lot of it, you can't just go to the doctor and get like a cure. Like, you stuck with that for life. Imagine ruining your life, because these teenagers, so they can be anywhere from like 14 to 18 or whatever. It's I
didn't have the knowledge that I should have. I think just I didn't know what Plan B was until I started having sex. That just like, maybe I missed that day in class, but that was not taught in sex ed. So I didn't know what Plan B was until I started having sex. But now I'm a lot more educated, a lot more comfortable. Like, I'm on birth control. But obviously, like, birth control isn't always effective, isn't always accessible. So I understand like my privilege in that.
Well, the first time that I had unprotected sex was a couple months ago with my fiance. We're both adults, and we were in.
Fiance? How old are you? You 18? Well, it says teenagers, so I guess 18 or 19. Also, she got the Star of David, so she's Jewish.
A real period of grief because I had just had a miscarriage, I think about a month before after we'd had protected sex?
The first time that I had unprotected sex was unprotected sex was with the person that I am currently married to. We got married straight out of high school.
Okay, another 18 or 19-year-old. All right. They married young, too. All right. The military showed us some nasty pics of STDs in basic. What you saw in military, I saw in sex ed in high school. It is this, I'm glad the military showed y'all that, because the military nasty. They're nasty.
I was 18. It was like a week after I graduated. And we're really happy together. And we love the idea of having a child, you know. Currently pregnant right now.
Heck
Second
yeah.
trimester.
Well, congratulations. At least you're married, I guess.
Clearly I had unprotected sex to get here.
This
Are
video
you going
is
to
nuts.
college, or do you have a job? Like, how's that working?
So I mainly do activism. I try to advocate for people who are in the same position as the person inside of me right now. And I think that the value of their life is intrinsic to every fetus. So honestly, right now, I'm just chilling as an activist.
So, hubby works? So, are you a stay-at-home mom and you just do this free time to, like, kill time? You just, as an activist? Because you don't make money off of that. Hubby has to be taking care of the household. That has to be tough, though, because they're, like, 18 or 19, so...
But do you make money?
There we go.
Sometimes, if my followers give me some.
Sick.
Depends.
Followers.
When you were having unprotected sex, would you say that you would have been financially stable enough to have a child?
No.
No? Would you say you would have been emotionally ready enough to have a child?
No.
Okay. All right, then.
I think I was in kind of a similar situation to you. Not so much because I was pressured by a partner or anything like that, but because
Probably.
the sex ed courses that we had,
'Cause they
like
love
yours was
that
lacking,
term.
were very lacking in terms of queer sexual education. And the sex I was having, I thought I didn't need any kind of protection for it because I was sleeping with people who couldn't get me pregnant.
So you're gay. What? Alright. I didn't know anything about queer because I was having sex with people who couldn't get me pregnant. It's like, so you gay, you sleep with women. And of course you on the side that's pro-abortion, which don't even make sense. Because like a girl ain't ever gonna shoot up the club for you. So this also, like, just say you les. You making it so much more complicated. And this is the land of the lost.
First time I've ever had unprotected sex, I was young enough to not know what sex even was. So I was very much manipulated and groomed by someone in my life to think that what I was doing was okay and normal. And that scared me because, you know, when I finally told my parents, it wasn't a really good conversation where they were like, of course they were shocked because that person is in our family. And they were like, that isn't real, you're just trying to get it for attention kind of thing. And then, but in a sense I knew that they believed me because we went to some dingy ass Walmart and bought a pregnancy test because they were like, if you are pregnant, you can't tell anyone that it's his. You have to say that we adopted another child and you would have to keep that baby. I did not want.
I can't stand families like this. We was just talking about families that me and my husband, we were just talking about families that literally take the size of the pedo and keep the child molestation going on in the family. Is like generational trauma, right? So for example, say the mom got molested by like the uncle or something, right? And she knows that happened her whole life. And then she gets older, she has kids, and then she bringing the kids around the uncle now to be babysitted, and now the kids are getting molested. And then they tell her, and they be like, well, you gotta keep it a secret or blah, blah, blah. And then they find out as adults, because I just saw a video about this, and they find out as adults that the uncle been molesting everybody since he was a kid. And now they're just like, well, why would you bring me around this guy? And then you learn that the whole family knows the dude is a pedo, and everybody just like hush hush about it. And it's like, no, when you first find out, you kill the guy. You wreck him and get him out of the family so he doesn't hurt anybody else. You don't be like, oh, you're just doing this for attention. But also, with this being said, shh, don't tell nobody this is happening. Bruh, I can't stand families that do that. This right here, children can't consent. Put the dude in jail, but why punish the child for the father's sin? You can't, so here's the thing though, with incest, because I know in the Bible, obviously for population to grow, that was a thing in the beginning. Once we got to a certain point and God was like, this is not a thing anymore. That's why with incest, the babies be all deformed and stuff. I thought about this too after seeing that video. Would God make it permissible to get rid of the child, considering it was made under that type of situation, which he said don't do this anymore, or there's gonna be like, or the kid's gonna come out messed up? Would he be okay with it in that situation? Because I was thinking about that, but I had no actual, I had no idea. You said no? You said Frank Turek has a great video on this? We might have to look that up afterwards. You said it's a stepfather probably, or an uncle. It could be anybody, Jorge. It could be the stepfather, the uncle, the cousin, brother. Ugh. You said no, God doesn't make mistakes. Give the child up for adoption. Everybody has interesting takes on this. I do want to, when this is done, we'll find the Frank Turek video, because I want to see what he how he interprets all that from the Bible.
I want to have a baby at a very young age. I was not emotionally ready. I was not financially ready. I was still in school trying to think, like, I have a future for myself that I want to do, you know? Fortunately, I was not pregnant.
Do you think that people can't achieve bright futures when they have children?
They can achieve bright futures if they have a child. I just knew that I wouldn't have been able to achieve that future.
Well, there are like resources available, particularly for people who are student parents, for people who are on-campus parents, who have children, babies, toddlers, children of all ages. There are also resources in terms of crisis pregnancy centers, also known as pregnancy help centers. There's thousands of them across the U.S. There's 5 crisis pregnancy centers for every Planned Parenthood. And so I think that a lot of these resources are not made known. I think that a lot of people kind of get into the situation of being pregnant and nobody's telling them about these resources, and then they think that they can't do it, and then they get an abortion that they might not have actually wanted. They felt like they had to.
Do you feel like that was your situation? Do you feel like you didn't want to have an abortion, like if it happened?
I think that because I grew up in a very conservative home, so abortion wasn't even in the picture. I wasn't even allowed to have that idea. And like thinking of it now, like, yeah, there are crisis centers, but we're also going through like baby formula shortage. Like, there's not even paid parental leave. So if we're going to be able to bring a child into this world, I think we should fight for more health care that is free for women or people who can give birth.
So the whole baby shortage thing, my mom said back in the day, there was a way you make your own baby formula and it's safe and whatnot. If you can't produce it on your own, there's a way to make baby formula. You don't have to always get the like little powdered little containers or whatnot. So, because she told me about it. She told me how to make it too at the time. I don't remember it now. But because I remember that's when that news story was going around. And she was just like, wow. She was like, I'm surprised the women from my time period ain't telling the women now how to do X, Y, Z. And I was like, oh, I have no idea.
And especially since I was at a very young age, I honestly just didn't know what I would do in that situation.
For me, when I started engaging in intercourse, I started out using protection. I've been volunteering with Planned Parenthood since I was about 15. When I was a junior in high school, I've had an intense passion for reproductive rights. So I immediately, as soon as I knew that that resource was accessible to me, I put myself on birth control. But unfortunately, birth control isn't the end-all be-all. And from putting myself on several forms of birth control, I realized that the adverse effects of birth control can be very, very altering. And currently, I'm in a very long-term committed relationship with my boyfriend, and
a long-term committed relationship with your boyfriend. You're a teenager. What is long-term to you? Like a year? 2 years?
Of course, when you have someone attractive, you want to have sex with them, and he's the first person I've really started participating in unprotected sex with.
All right, can the disagreeer step forward?
All right, before the guy step forward, I actually want to look this video up real quick because he said it's only a 2-minute video. So cross-examined. Whoops. Where did Cain get his wife? It's a 2-minute video. Got you. Let's watch this real quick.
What's your name?
Allie.
Allie, go ahead. Just get a little closer if you would, Allie.
In Genesis, the Bible tells us Adam and Eve have 2 sons, Cain and Abel. Later in Genesis, it says...
All right, hold on. She's speaking extremely low. Wait a minute. I need to pump this up a little bit.
Cain ran off and married a woman he knew not. Who was she?
Yeah, excellent question. Where did Cain get his wife? I think it's pretty obvious. eharmony.com. I mean, where else would you go, right? Well, remember, the Bible is tracing one bloodline. It can't tell you everything that goes on in history. It's already a very long book. But it's tracing one bloodline, the bloodline of the Messiah in the Old Testament. And the whole theme of the Bible is redemption. You have paradise lost in Genesis, paradise regained in Revelation. Everything in between is the story of redemption. And so there could have been hundreds or thousands of people on the planet through Adam and Eve by the time Cain took a wife. Now, could he marry a sister? Yeah, why not? Because at that point, there was no genetic deformity. Now there is. Now you can't do that. But at that time, you could. So, although the Bible doesn't give you all the details as to where this wife came from, we can surmise, since Adam and Eve lived a very long time, that they had many offspring, and the Bible just tells you about one line of their offspring. Thank you. Remember, the Bible is there to make you wise unto salvation, which is 2 Timothy 3:16. It's not going to tell you everything about everything. It couldn't. It's a limited document just like anything else. All writing is selective. You've got to leave out a lot more than what you can say.
So he just touched on the whole incest thing. But that's like I said, so I know it was okay in the beginning because there was like nobody else there. That's why there's no deformities. But there's deformities like now because God put that into place. I want to see a video like about that. Like, what would God think about abortion today if it was for the instance of incest and the child has those deformities and whatnot? I don't know. I saw what everybody said because you guys have more knowledge than I do. It was basically, no, the kid still has a soul. I know that. I was thinking of it in terms of alignment with what he said and saying this can't happen no more, or like this is how the kids are going to come out. Unless at that point it's just like, hey, I said not to do this, so this you got to deal with the consequence. Because that sounds like something God would also say. Cross-examining videos are key to undercoding scripture. So it says Google abortion and cross-examined. All right. So it says, oh, this is a whole podcast. How long is this? Oh, this is like 48 minutes. All right. But this basically, it says how to answer arguments for abortion with Frank Turek. Oh, key to understanding scripture. Because I was like, undercoding. That's a interesting way to say that. Oh, so he does talk about this in here within this 48 minutes. It says, what about the cases of rape and incest? Okay. I'm going to have to listen. Hold on. Let me start this real quick. I'm going to have to listen to this. You said there are short ones. I actually kind of want to listen to that one because that goes over that plus a bunch of other stuff too on that list. So I'm going to actually listen to that one day. I might go for a bike ride. Well, I don't know if I'm going to go for a bike ride this week. The weather's not as hot as it was last week, and I don't like that. That means I'm going to have to wear like a hoodie when I ride my bike, and I don't like that either. Well, tomorrow, 72. That's the best I'm going to get probably until the weekend. You know what? I'll listen to it on my bike ride. That'd be the best way to get over it. All right, John, thank you for stopping through and hanging out for a little bit. I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed night, my man. Oh, now the guys get to come up.
I've not had sex yet, and that's just because of my religious ethical code and moral code. I've been,
Good job, bro.
I'm a Catholic. I've been raised in a Christian household, and I just don't see that as something that's beneficial or valuable to my life at this point. There's been times when I've questioned if I was ready and questioned my faith, but I've always just kind of found my way back to the church and agreeing with the church's teachings. So I've never really had a desire, and I was in foster care as a child, and so I witnessed a lot of sexual violence there, and it's just been one of those things I almost feel like just subconsciously I've never really wanted. So I really don't see myself like living in a sexual relationship with another at this time of my life, just because it just isn't really what I feel like is right for me.
Jorge says, grape is horrible, but killing an innocent baby doesn't make it better. I agree with the grape thing. My whole thing is I didn't know how God viewed it on the incest level, since he changed everything up to have like deformities if you committed that moving forward. Non-negotiable, church calls it evil. Okay. Questions and doubts aren't sin. The Bible definitely provides the answers. It does. It's one of those things, when I read certain things, I kind of overthink some things sometimes, but I was very curious just on that aspect of it.
Sort of in the same boat. I'm Catholic as well, but I haven't had sex before. It's not just because I'm Catholic. It's like there are other reasons as to why I haven't, such as pair bonding, and I think just it helps to keep the marital act within marriage, because newsflash, sex makes babies, so I think it's just good for a child to have a mother and father, because when families are sort of separated, it causes a lot of problems for children, especially like with divorce now. It's like surveys have shown that divorce is often worse than the death of a parent, just because it's just like, at least like when the parent has passed, it's like they didn't leave you behind. So
I have two questions for you. The first one is, where did you get those surveys from?
I don't remember. I was just in passing, but
That's
I don't
fine.
really know.
The second thing I wanted to ask.
Wow, she was quick with it. Where'd you get the surveys from? It's like, ma'am, whatever agenda you're trying to push right now, the surveys are real. Kids flourish better in a two-parent household than they do with divorced parents. And then, what's funny, according to the surveys, when the parents divorce, the child actually fares better in the household with the dad than in the household with the mom majority of the time. Who would have thought? Crazy. Yeah, she got super offended. Hey, King Penguin and House, what's going on, my man? Sorry I'm late. It's no big deal, my brother. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope you had a great weekend too, sir.
You said something about sex always making babies. Well, you didn't say always. You said sex makes babies, and I would love to challenge that a little bit, because
that's the purpose of sex. We understand you have sex with women, all right? But the whole purpose of sex is to be fruitful and multiply. If everybody did it your way, the population would die off. Like, stop. Just stop it. All right? All right, Tyree, thank you for stopping through and sharing the videos and stuff, because we got through all of them while you were here with us. So thank you for stopping by and sharing the videos. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed night, too. And then if you're available, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow.
It's not the only reason for like sex. It's just like you have the pair bonding and sort of the emotional going on between the two people, but sort of like the telos, the primary purpose of it, sort of is for that. But there's other legitimate sort of secondary reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you would say that the primary purpose of all sex is babies?
Yes. I wouldn't say all sex, because there's times where you can't conceive because like the woman cycles, so she's not always fertile. But I think it's just the natural order of that act is for having children.
Okay.
Yeah. I think what they were getting at is to not assume that all sex is heterosexual. So.
Yeah, that is a pretty heteronormative view. I completely validate and respect that you don't want to have sex for you. But
that's a pretty heteronormative view on sex, lady. All right, your whole view on gender and sex comes from 2 child molesters, so maybe pipe it down a little bit, okay?
For those of us who can't even ever, for any reason, get pregnant during sex, I think it's a little reductive to assume that that's like the reason people would do it.
I think there's also a difference between reproductive sex and non-reproductive sex. Like, let's be so for real. There's so many things you can do to not get pregnant and still have sex with somebody.
I'm obviously not Catholic, but I think that but I think it's also important to remember that, you know, Catholics and people who do believe that sex should be within marriage also acknowledge that there's types of sex, like oral sex, for example, that you don't conceive children by. So I think maybe not to put words in your mouth, but maybe what Luke is referring to specifically is coitus and not other types of sex.
Yeah, because people can mean different things by sex. It's like
it's a very general term.
Yeah. Hi, this is Ragini, the director of this episode. Please like this video if you enjoy watching it and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's
lady,
get back
get
to
off the
video.
screen.
I have had an abortion.
All right. All the women walked forward initially, okay? We know she said, no, she had a miscarriage, so I'm pretty sure she would never have an abortion. And she's pregnant right now. She made it seem like that was her first pregnancy. So it would fall on these 4 women over here. This one had to deal with being sexually abused by a family member. I wasn't paying attention fully, but I can't remember if she said she had one or not. So it's possible, yes. This one, probably one of these 2 walking forward. She only has sex with girls. You ain't getting pregnant off a girl, right? And if she does walk forward, that's going to be a crazy story. That's going to be a crazy story. It's all word salad and highlighted emotions. Facts. Hey, didn't I say one of those 2 is probably going to step forward? They
I
both
had
did.
mine about 1.5 years ago. And I've never felt shame, never felt regret. I've never even second-guessed my choice.
That's sad.
Surprisingly, my parents are Middle Eastern immigrants, and they were very supportive. The 9 months of pregnancy isn't considered to be a challenge in its own. It's like, oh, you know, you can give the child up for adoption. Oh, there are like resources, there are crisis pregnancy centers, but those 9 months, that's still morning sickness. That's still doctor visits. I had to go to the ER in the very short time that it took me finding out that I was pregnant to getting the actual abortion, because I thought I had an ectopic pregnancy, because that's what my gynecologist told me. There are so many things to consider. I can't go to school if I'm sick, if I'm already, you know, mental health isn't something that's secure for me. And then on the top of that, I'm gonna have to deal with thinking about this pregnancy. Are people gonna judge me for being a teen mom?
It's crazy that she's having all these thoughts and emotions off the fact of, man, I don't want to be pregnant. Yet she sat there in that first prompt and was like, oh, I've had tons of unprotected sex. And, you know, I didn't even realize what birth control was. And for the longest, I didn't know what a Plan B was. But in the same breath, you like, oh, you know, I can't be pregnant right now. Maybe make better decisions. Don't want to be pregnant. Maybe don't have sex. It's common sense. There's a chance that's going to come from the act. Because just like my man back here said, that they was jumping on due to his terminology, the point of sex is to make babies. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not the reason for sex. This same girl, oh, I couldn't fathom the thought of having a baby. Stupid. Yes, sadly, it was a success. It's horrible. Oh, really was like let me hit you with it real quick. Ooh. Let's see what this one got to say.
Okay, so I had an abortion fairly recently. I had one.
Wasn't this with the long-term relationship boyfriend, love of your life, and you had one recently?
About 2 to 3 days before my recent birthday last year in November. It was a very unexpected event.
Was it unexpected because you said you've been having unprotected sex with this dude because you're in a long-term relationship?
I remember having symptoms almost immediately. I was about 6 weeks, I believe, 5 weeks and 7 days. I actually did not suspect I was pregnant because I had been going through some traumatic life events that threw my cycle off. My period was
technically
on average 40 days late, so I just didn't
But like, let's be honest, like, she's not repenting. At least today, in this time frame of her being a teenager, she's not repenting. Now down the line, maybe, but this point in time, nah.
Suspect anything when I was 6 days late that past cycle, and my boyfriend, who I was confiding in at the time and telling about my current bodily circumstances, had a feeling beyond me, the woman in this equation who should know what's going on. He was the one that prompted me to go get a test because he felt that I was pregnant, and when we found out, it was a shock.
And all those like her,
I'm the type of person when in my relationships, I make very clear my positions on how I am with, you know, abortion and pregnancy and child rearing. I'm very
Pause. Her terminology. She was like, in my relationships, I like to let people know my stance on X, Y, and Z. It's like, but you just said the guy that you did this with was your long-term relationship. What is long-term to her? That's what I want to know, because these are teenagers talking. These aren't like grown, like, men and women. So what other relationship did you have prior to this to give your stance on anything? All right. Facts, Jorge. Facts. But
transparent in that matter because there should be no room for error in that case, but that's because I'm fortunate enough to be educated in that manner. I'm a volunteer with Planned Parenthood, so I knew the resources available to me at that time. When I did conceive, it was not when I was on.
And then she's a volunteer for Planned Parenthood.
Birth control.
She lost.
And so
she's
partially, I take responsibility for the circumstances that led to the conception of that pregnancy. Although I'm very grateful and I'm very appreciative that I had access to this form of healthcare, it was something that I grieved heavily. It was something that my boyfriend grieved heavily. We were not ecstatic to have done this. We were not happy that we had to make this choice. But because of our plans as individuals, as adults, and our life plan is to get married, is to complete school, and to maximize our chances of being the parents that we want to be, I felt it irresponsible to be selfish and say, well, I want a baby and I don't want to make that hard choice to terminate. But when you think of somebody else, and that would have been another individual, you have to think what's best for them if they were to be born. And I'm not in a position to where I could emotionally, financially, nor physically provide for a child. Whereas if I would...
Think about what she just said. I'm not in a position to do X, Y, or Z. Also her. Yeah, we have unprotected sex all the time from that first prompt. It's hard not to when you're with somebody so hot and attractive. Also her in this prompt. Our goals are to get married and start a life together. Also her. We grieved it. You could have kept the baby. Like, that was a blessing, and you just, like... When I tell y'all, my husband's little sister was a teen mom. And she kept the baby. He's an awesome, like... I don't know if I should call him a little boy anymore, because he's, like, older now. So, an awesome young man, right? I can't even imagine... like what her life would be, because like he didn't hold her back from doing what she had to do. She's in the IT field. She makes great money. She still figured out how the one girl on the anti-abortion side that was pregnant, and she said she was an activist for to show people that they're centers and help and all that. She used all her resources and did what she was supposed to do. She makes great money. All this was selfish. This was selfish.
Do the hard thing now. Later
Yeah.
on down the line, when I improve my circumstances, I can be the mother that I want to be, instead of disadvantaging myself and that person who did not ask to be put in that situation.
You shouldn't have been having unprotected sex.
Commend you for coming in front of like a camera and saying that.
Yeah. My parents don't even know either.
Yeah, mine don't either. I need to figure out a way to tell them.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna block Jubilee from their YouTube.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you for sharing those experiences with us, because I could hear in your voice, even though I couldn't see your face. It's difficult to share. And I'm so sorry that you had that period of grief and those experiences.
Thank you.
I've miscarried twice, and taking the abortion pill, I know, though it is a different process, it's not dissimilar in the function of it to a miscarriage. But you did say something that I thought was interesting. You said you think it's selfish to bring a child into a situation where you know that maybe you're not economically stable, or you're not maybe in the best emotional state to have a child. And my mother has 5 children. And when I was born, my father was leaving. He was abusive. And we were on food stamps. She was in college. She was waiting tables and sweeping under chairs when she was in labor with me. So I want to sympathize with that and say I know exactly that kind of economic struggle, that emotional struggle that a lot of women are in. But I don't think it's fair to say that people who are in poverty, or people who might have mental health or emotional issues, are selfish for bringing children into those situations. Because I think that you can still have and love a child in those situations. And I don't think that having children is something that we should reserve for the wealthy, for the people who don't have mental health issues. I don't think it's selfish for people who are not in those positions of privilege to have children.
For the rich, for the white, for those who are in a position.
So I just want to quickly respond to you, and there's a reason why I included that in my personal statement. It's because that's a personal belief that I ascribe to myself. I don't think generally that it is selfish to bring children into your circumstances. I retract myself from in putting my personal beliefs onto other people's experiences. I only speak from how I feel, because I'm the king of my own fate. And in the same way that your mother chose to have 5 children, I chose not to. But I don't want to ever take that away from anybody. I think if you feel like you have the means and you have the willpower to be a mother, to be a father, you do that. But that doesn't give you the right to determine for other people that they should also do the same.
Well, I think that's kind of ironic, personally, because I feel like that's exactly the point of the question. It's whenever a person decides to have an abortion, whenever a doctor decides to perform an abortion, whenever a medical professional prescribes an abortion pill, they are making a choice for that child and pushing that onto the unborn person. Then they are saying that the unborn person, you don't deserve to live. You don't have the right to live. You are not rich enough to live. You are not privileged enough to live. You are not white enough to live.
What about the woman, though? Like,
Why does she keep, hold on. Why does she keep adding white to it? Like, what? You not rich enough to live. You not white enough to live. It's like, hold on, time out, pause, wait a minute. How you keep adding that?
That, like, I've had this conversation with so many pro-life people, and it's always, oh, the fetus, the embryo, this unborn life. And I'm like, what about me? But I was actually going through it. You can have.
Well, what about you? You the one that decided to have unprotected sex. That's the consequence of unprotected sex. So your solution is to kill the baby because you just don't want to deal with your consequences. That's messed up. That's a messed up way of thinking.
Have all these hypotheticals about you're pushing this onto the unborn life. First of all, they never existed. They are not aware of their existence. It's not a.
What did she say? She said the baby never existed. It was in you. If it didn't exist, you would have never been able to abort it. So what did you think you aborted? What did you think that was?
What they could have become, or you know, you're not giving them the right to life. They never existed.
First of all, they existed scientifically. Scientifically, an unborn fetus matches all of the qualifications that NASA has for a living individual organism. Secondly, I'd like to say, what right does anybody have to mitigate the outcomes of their own mistakes by oppressing another human being inside of them, by using unjust violence and excessive force against a peaceful being inside of them?
What about rape or incest?
I got pregnant from rape. 4 years ago, I got pregnant from rape. I was raped for years of my life. I have physical symptoms of that. I have reproductive issues as a result of that. But I think it's important to say that babies like my daughter Rachel, as I talked about before, and babies like my daughter Mira, who I got pregnant with consensually, are the same. They're DNA-wise. There is nothing different in the DNA, the human DNA, between a baby who's conceived in rape and a baby who's conceived consensually.
So you're telling raped women that they should be having their children? Are you going to make that decision for women that are raped just because your experience, you think that it ended up being a good idea for you to have these children? Are you then going to stand here and say that all raped women should have their children?
Are you going to stand here and say that children who are conceived in rape are somehow different than children who are conceived consensually?
No, because I don't see a difference.
Then why are you bringing it up?
I would also say that abortion.
You gonna sit here and say that? Well, no. Why you bringing it up? Girl got stuck after that.
Abortion is not evidence-based care for rape victims. There's no research that shows that the outcomes of rape victims getting an abortion is better than those who do not. So if we want to go purely based off of medical science and evidence-based care,
no.
Yeah,
I will push back that we do have statistical evidence that shows that women who have access to abortion, and in societies where abortion is accessible, there is an overwhelming decrease in the amount of abortions obtained, and there's also an increase in the economic, emotional, and physical advancements of the people who have access to that care. And I will acknowledge, because I do think that what was inside of me, what was inside of you, I personally believe it is a life. It is. I mean, I held mine in my hands, but to equate that to me, an already birthed human being, this thing, I have a photo of it in my phone. I was gonna bring my ultrasound as well, but I thought that would be triggering for some people. But what I possessed in my hands when I took it out of my pants, when I expelled it from my body, I think it is ludicrous to equate that to me. There was no head, there was no arms, there was no legs, there was nothing there.
How far along were you?
I was 5 weeks and 7 days.
You were 5 weeks and 7 days?
Yes. And I had the privilege.
Do you know that at 5 weeks a baby has a heartbeat?
It does not.
First of all,
yes, it does.
It has a two-chambered heart.
No, heart cells can
not.
beat in a petri dish if you remove it. Heart cells, it's electrical impulses, but I mean, when we talk about life, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think when you draw the conclusion of what is life, I don't think that is a legal question. I think that is a moral and philosophical argument. And when you try and establish what is life, I mean, there are plenty of instances where we acknowledge that there is life, and yet we make decisions for them. When people are brain dead, we acknowledge that there is life there, and yet they are dead. I feel like when you try and say, well, this is life, so therefore it is deserving of rights, we extend more rights to someone who is hooked up to a machine, keeping them breathing without any conscious experience, and we extend to them more humanity than a woman and her body. And my argument is simply bodily autonomy. I think in no circumstance shall we force somebody, should the state, I should say, should the government compel somebody to use their body against their will, even if they are personally responsible for the individual. It's the reason why, even if you have a child and that child needs you for bone marrow or blood transfusions, the state cannot compel you and hook you up to a machine against your will to force you to keep that individual alive. And I think and when we live in a democracy and we prioritize human rights, you have to put bodily autonomy above and preserve it regardless, even if you were a drunk driver and your irresponsible, illegal actions led to the harm of another person. The state cannot put you in a position where your body must be used as a resource against your will. I think it is a violation.
Okay,
and
first,
this girl said so much of nothing. Like, you started off saying, I believe it's a life. I held it in my hand. And they had the audacity to be like, well, you know, I didn't see like a head and arms and blah, blah, blah at 5 weeks. Well, it had a heartbeat. No, it didn't. And then the chick that held the baby, actually, the heartbeat is there. It's like, okay, what are you arguing about right now? And then she said a whole bunch of nothing after that had nothing to do with this. Ma'am, you believe life was in you. You said you and your boyfriend grieved that. You believe you had a life in you, and you're going to have to deal with that for the rest of your life, that you killed your child because you wanted to be selfish. That's really what this boils down to. And you tried to do this whole little monologue of nonsense that meant nothing. It meant nothing. She's trying to ease her guilty conscience. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. And she said a mouthful of nothing, wasting everybody's time. When a baby is conceived, he or she gets a soul and a guardian angel because God knows you from conception to natural death. I actually read that verse. I randomly read that verse this morning. Somebody, I be following Bible verse pages on Instagram. That actual verse popped up. I joke about extinction. I'm old, thinking of the future of humans and educated youth. Yikes. Yikes indeed. This is sad. Also, this right here, this annoys me as well when it comes to America. All these babies are aborted every year, yet there's always like an alarmingly high amount of couples that want to adopt. And a lot of them would be good parents too. And yet somehow, I already know how it is because the whole foster care system is corrupt. They keep giving kids to like a-holes and pedos and abusers and all that just because they're like paying an agent off or something. It's
you would like
Firstly,
to do.
I asked you about evidence-based care involving rape victims.
Okay.
Not economic outcomes after a random
I wasn't
person keeps a
arguing off
pregnancy.
the rape.
Well, yeah, well, as I said, you said, yes, we do have statistics, and then you brought statistics that had nothing to do with what I said. I would also like to say that the whole bodily autonomy argument, it doesn't hold up. Pregnancy is ordinary and healthy care 99% of the time. Pregnancy is not comparable to hooking you up to a random person. Your offspring is your child. They are genetically and emotionally related to you from the moment they are inside of you. My baby is literally grimacing right now inside of me. They can make squint faces. So it's not even comparable, the relationship between a child and the relationship between a rando. But you do not get to mitigate the outcomes of your choices by violently ending the life of another human being that you are responsible for bringing into dependency on.
Even if I invited someone into my own home, a friend, a family member, I have the means, if I choose, if I tell them I do not want you there, by my own choices, I allowed that person into my home, into my space, into my domain.
Did she just compare being pregnant with a baby to inviting somebody into your house? What? Girl, that's a horrible argument. If I invite a friend or family member to the crib and I want them to leave, they have the right to bounce. It's like, that's not the same as getting pregnant.
Maine, and then I change my mind and I rescind my consent. We have the ability, it's called self-defense, and I'm nowhere near arguing.
Did she just call abortion self-defense? Hey y'all, when y'all go to bed tonight, pray for these 4 pro-abortion people. This one, where they at? These 3. Please pray for them. Especially Miss like Angry Les over here. I don't even know why she's sitting here. She just says she only has sex with women. So I don't even know how she got to be a part of this conversation. A woman's not going to get her pregnant unless she's sleeping with a trans woman, but that's a man. So I don't know why she here. All of this is crazy.
That pregnancy, let me clarify now before you jump to conclusions about what I'm saying. We have no...
Baby girl, ain't nobody jumping to no conclusions. You're being very clear about the nonsense you are speaking. Very clear. Just so we are on the same page about that. And it's just nonsense.
No issue with, and again, I'm not saying that pregnancy is the same as self-defense, but in those arguments, even when you put yourself and you put another person to a state of dependency, when you invite them into your home, you have the means to remove them. And I think when it comes to your...
Hey, Rap Night, welcome to the stream. We're watching the pro versus anti-abortion teens on Middle Ground, and it's about what you might think it would be.
Our body, and I'm just arguing in terms of the state. There's a lot of things that I disagree with in terms of like people smoking cigarettes, because we have evidence that shows secondhand smoke kills. You can kill somebody from the means of you having an addiction to cigarettes, but should we...
This has nothing to do with the topic. She keeps bringing up things that have nothing to do with the topic.
Punish that person for the choice that they made simply because they...
Can I ask something? What about the child inside of you?
There was... What I passed in my hands was not a child, and I think it is very disingenuous to say what I held in my hand is the you, is any...
Wow. She literally went from, I believe that there was life inside of me because I held it in my hands, to, I wasn't holding on to no life. That wasn't a person. She just contradicted. So what were you grieving? If that's not a person, what were you grieving? That's what I want to know. You literally went from, I believe I had life in my stomach, I held it in my hands, me and my boyfriend grieved, and now you're just like, I don't believe it was a life. I don't believe it was a person.
Of you. It just wasn't.
What was it then?
An embryo. It's like
Well,
a clump of
what's
cells.
an embryo? What is an embryo?
It's a clump of cells.
Well, an embryo is...
Here we go with the nonsense. It's just a clump of cells. No, it's a person. It's just a clump of cells. It's not a person. Then what did you abort? Why we call it miscarriages? Why do we call it baby showers? Why do we use these terms if it was nothing? Stupid.
It's just a term
It's an
for
organized
the
body.
stage of
It's
a
not
certain
the
stage
same.
of
So when we
development
talk about
in the process of entire human life.
Right, I agree.
So it is
So it's
still
a
human
it's a
being.
human life, so you just
But
agree.
is the egg unfertilized? Is that a human being?
No,
This is a
because
whole lot of
fertilization-
Hold on. One at a time. I want to hear what you guys have to say.
So an egg is distinct from an embryo.
Right? We don't call them fetus showers. We don't call it a clump of cell shower or a clump of cell celebration. We call it a baby shower. That's what we call it, you know? It's crazy how, like, depending where you live, you can have the baby shower. You can get pretty close to, like, it's time for the baby to come out and still kill the baby, which is wild. And even up to that point, people will then trick themselves and be like, you know, I didn't have a baby inside of me. Yeah, I was like 8 months, but clump of cells. Come on now. Come on.
Embryo, because an embryo is a genetically distinct whole organism. It's not merely just a
They
part.
don't.
Like,
They never have definitions for anything. And then when you get scientific with them, they just want to argue. That's all they want to do.
skin cells, egg, sperm. Because we can tell that because if you were to apply the net test, so like any amount of nutrition, any environment, or any amount of time, like an embryo will develop into a mature member of its species, but sperm, eggs, skin cells, they're not going to develop.
Thank you, Aurelia. I appreciate it.
So it's not the same thing.
Oh yeah, of course. I do. I absolutely agree. I think an embryo is a stage of development, but I don't think you afford that stage of development the same human rights that you would a full-grown human being.
She lost. She lost. Once again, pray for her and the other 3 pro-abortion teens, because they don't know what they're talking about, especially this one right here. Because she literally went from, I believe it was life in my stomach and I held it in my hands and we grieved, to now she's just saying all the like buzzwords that they teach you to say. She did a whole 180. This is kind of wild. What did you... Yo, wait a minute. Wait, hold on, Tech Boy, wait a minute. I just saw your comment. You said, in practice, I believe life belongs at conception. I think you mean begins. But the little dot, if it were to die or be killed by birth control or abortion, I don't feel that badly. How should I feel? You should feel bad. Life begins at conception. That's a baby from the beginning. So whenever you get into the point of dating and then y'all get married, you have sex and she gets pregnant, if she loses that baby early on, you're gonna feel bad. I promise you. You're just saying that now. You're 16. Right? But you're going to feel bad.
It's the reason why we make a distinction between children and adults. A child can develop into an adult. Do we automatically ascribe them, you can drink, you can vote? Well, they are not that yet. And why make that distinction but then say...
But how does that give us the authority to kill the child?
I'm not saying give you the authority to kill a child, but I think if that... The argument that I'm making is I feel like there's a fundamental difference between something being attached to you, reliant on your resources, and something being dependent on you for other types of resources beyond your physical body. It's the reason why I'm making a reference to blood transfusions and organ donations, because that is directly attributing what your body needs to survive to give to somebody else to help them live, as opposed...
She's answering everything but the question. Now we talking about blood transfusions. We done start talking about little kids, and they like, what that got to do with the baby? Well, it's because the growing inside of you needs different resources than a child needing different resources. It's like, what do you... This, yes, she's everywhere.
To a child that is already born that simply needs your labor and financial resources to keep them alive and support their already existence and living on their own.
But when we're talking about the value of human life, I don't think it's at all fair to say that an unborn child is worth more than their mother.
Ma'am, okay, you're not having kids. Why are you in this conversation? At least at this moment in time, you're only sleeping with women, right? Sit there and they'd be like, I don't think the kid's worth more than the mom. The kid is definitely worth more than the mom. Why did these people be horrible parents? Y'all ever hear the stories where like the kid is drowning or the kid's in like a burning building, and like you'll see if the parent is good or not in the moment, because you'll see that it'll always be that one parent that'll be like, oh, I'm getting mine, and they'll jump in or they'll run back into the building to get the kid because that's their kid, right? You gonna do that? I would even do that for my nephew and my niece. Like they didn't come out of me, but the same thing. My little cousins, all of them. I'll put my life on the line because at that point, their life is worth more than mine. You know what I'm saying? These people would be the parent. Have you ever seen a video? There was a, oh man, somebody's pit bull got loose and viciously ran into this other person's yard from like way down the street. And the dude and his kid was outside, and he immediately was like, ah! And he threw the kid down and booked it. It took another person seeing what happened, because it was caught on a Ring camera. They ran over and grabbed the kid right before the dog could, and they lifted the kid up, and then they kicked the dog in the nose, and they ran the kid to safety at their house. All these people tripping right now, they would be the parent that knocks the kid to the ground and runs away. That's would be these people, cause their responses are horrible. Right? This is horrible. If her partner wants a child, she's not going to be happy. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, they don't know nothing about that. They have no. I think Rap Night is talking about in emergency situations. You're supposed to save the women and kids first and then the men.
Or who would be their mother. I don't think it's fair to say that the mother's needs and her state of life or their state of life don't matter in that situation, because they do. And it's not this like killing a fetus for fun. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be in that situation or to have an abortion. But like, you can't just act like we always should be prioritizing this, what isn't even a child yet.
But none of us are saying we're prioritizing the child over the mother. We're saying,
yes, you are. Yes, you are.
What happens during pregnancy?
What happens during pregnancy? The mother is trying to think of the word.
Succumbing?
Gestating.
Succumbing.
Gestating. The mother is giving life to the fetus. The mother is supporting the fetus's life as it grows. And so what we're saying is that the child and the mother should be equally supported through the pregnancy.
Are they? No.
Oh, man.
We're not saying that they are. We're not saying they are.
So support.
Hey, that's actually not a bad idea for a shirt. I got one from Bryson Gray, the hoodie. It says "Make America Godly Again," but this one's dope too. "Make abortions gone again." I might actually put that on the shirt because I'm going to a pro-life walk in October. It's gonna be in Columbus, Ohio, and I could put this on. Well, at that point, it'd be on a hoodie because I don't like the cold. I don't like any slightness of cold, but that would be on a hoodie, and I would walk with that. That'd actually be kind of fire. Actually,
putting the financial needs of a mother is a need that can be handled through nonviolent means, whereas you guys are advocating for violent means to end the life of a person.
No, it's not violent.
Yeah, it is violent to rip, suction, starve. It is violent to take limbs off of people. It is violent to induce a heart attack. Yeah, and you starved. You starved your embryo. That's what happened. That's how the pill works.
You probably do that in labs somewhere. That's how you
I do that
in germ cells.
But it's a human being. I feel like we keep getting away from the fact
it's not
that
though.
But
There's nothing to get away from.
that life begins at conception. It's a human embryo.
Science does not say that. The Bible says that. I have a question for you really quick.
Jorge says, actually, now there's evil groups that want to abort for fun or rituals. I'm not shocked. Because who was the group in the Bible? Because didn't they like kill kids in honor of like Baal or something? Wasn't that them?
Let's move on to the next prompt because it feels like the conversation is not going anywhere.
Well,
I did have a question.
Don't get a bunch of pro-choicers and pro-lifers together.
I'd rather abort a child than put them through the foster care system.
This is a wild prompt. I'd rather abort a child than put them through the foster care system. I guarantee all four of them are stepping forward. I'd be shocked if any of them stepped forward. I'd be highly shocked. Because she not. She says she got raped. She kept that baby. She pregnant. These two, they better not step forward. Better not step forward. Wow. All that, let this be the other three that stayed behind. They was doing all that arguing with this side of the field about it's not a baby, it's a clump of cells. But yet when it comes down to aborting rather than putting them through foster care, they can't do it. Huh, interesting. Why can't you do it? I thought it was nothing. Why wouldn't you just abort the nothingness? They really just told on themselves. They know it's a life.
And this is, like, I didn't consider this until I myself was put into that situation where it's not just get pregnant, put the kid in the foster system. It's that, again, like I said, 9 months of pregnancy. And
you just don't want to be pregnant. Just be honest. You just like, I just want to have a lot of unprotected sex with whoever and whenever, and I just don't want to have the baby. So this is going to be fun for me. I'm trying to go to college and enjoy my college life and have a ton of sex in college. She's going to be the true feminist modern woman. That's who this girl is going to be. Sad. Super sad.
I would not go through those 9 months of pregnancy, even though if I had the option of giving my kid up to
this right here. It really does just go to show how without God, humans have no morals. If we made murder legal, promise you there are people who will fight tooth and nail to justify it. Oh, that's facts. That whole Purge movie, look, if that was real life, people would literally do that. They'd be like, oh yeah, I can get all this out once a year. I'm killing, yeah. Sick. Yeah, what makes these people want to do stupid, nasty stuff and not accept the consequences? Sex does not sound appealing at all, especially multiple times. It's like, well, you're on the greatest path to not having sex till marriage. Keep it up, my guy.
The foster care system, like, you have to still go through those 9 months of pregnancy. It's not just, you can just drop it off.
That was her only excuse. Yeah, I do it. I ain't trying to be pregnant for 9 months. I ain't got time for that. I'm trying to have more unprotected sex. I gotta get to that college kegger party. Haha. Ain't no babies up beside me. That's all this is.
So I feel like first, before we get into this conversation, we need to establish how foster care works. As someone who is in the system, I understand how the system works. As someone whose parents were foster parents, I understand the system is not something you can willingly just register your child for, not like the adoption system. Foster care is a system with the government to protect children who are in unsafe environments, that they see the child as being in an unsafe environment. My mother was a drug addict. We were living in government housing. We were homeless multiple times. My mother was severely addicted to alcohol, just not at a time in her place where she could really have a family, but she did have a family. And so my grandmother came and watched us. And my grandmother, over time, just really was convicted, because she was a devout Christian woman, of the reality that this is no environment for a child to grow up in, and she wanted to do something, if anything, to help us have a better life. And she knew financially she could not take us in, but she wanted to do something. So she called CPS, and CPS came and took me and my siblings away. Now, did I have the best experience of foster care? Absolutely not. I still live today with bruises and sores on my body from foster care. And I was in there up until I was 19 months old. I was a baby, but it still affects me to this day. And I really struggle when I hear people say that, like, a child in foster care is somehow less valuable because of the way that the government treats children in foster care, because I just don't think that's a correct opinion to have. To treat a child as less valuable is dehumanizing, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm...
Yeah, because if he got aborted, he wouldn't be here right now. His life is valuable. That's a guy. Yeah, he's just a big guy, that's all. You said, then again, these are teens. They're not going to say much useful stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, even the panels with the adults, some of the adults say goofy stuff too.
1000% against dehumanization of any human being whatsoever.
I don't think anyone is saying that foster care kids are less valuable, though. Like, you didn't mean that, did you? No, nobody's saying that. I just wanted to make that clear. Do you have a uterus?
I do not have a uterus.
You do not have a uterus. So I'm not saying that your opinion is invalid or that you should not be included in this discussion, but I'm saying that that's important to keep in mind, is that you could never be in this position.
I can't stand this argument either. Because it's like they made this weird go-to thing like, well, men should have no say because blah, 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 blah. They should have a say, especially if they're part of the creation of the child. They have a right to state if they want that child or not. I'm going to tell a man he has no right to make that decision. He helped create it. That's stupid. He has a whole right in that conversation. And what also annoys me about this tactic is that they'll easily throw it at men. And I have watched videos on my channel before where if a pro-life woman is like interviewing them at one of the parades or whatever, and she's hitting them with facts, they're so used to saying it, it slips out of their mouth. And they'd be like, I'm sorry, can you have this conversation? Do you have a uterus? And the woman would look at them and be like, yeah, I'm a woman. I could definitely have this conversation. And they're stuck. It's like they don't know what to say after that. And I'm not joking either. I've seen enough interviews at abortion marches where they're like pro-abortion marches where I've seen women say that to other women because I guess they're just used to like pre-programmed of spitting that out. It's weird. And it's insane. Yeah, you don't have to be a woman to understand. It's such a stupid argument.
Of having to decide whether you in your body want to keep and raise a child from your body.
You are arguing for the slaughter of human beings because you're pro-choice. And I'm standing here in where a fetus cannot.
Strong word. So it's not a strong word.
It's really not. But could I just finish my statement? We're standing here in defense of the children because they do not get that voice, because they do not have that voice because they are in the womb.
So then are you going to adopt it? I'm assuming you will, right?
That's not an argument you can make because
I can't stand that argument either. Because to sit there and be like, well, you're going to adopt it? It's like, well, lady, he can't because you just said you would abort it. So there's nothing to adopt because you just aborted. Also, I've also seen this play out when they be like, oh, are you going to adopt it? And they're actually talking to people that work in the foster care system or have adopted children and be like, actually, yes, I have X amount of adopted children or blah, blah, blah. They're stuck and they don't know what to say. It doesn't make sense. If all of us even took a kid, like, and we tried to adopt a kid, like, I think it was put up earlier, more kids are aborted per year than couples wanting kids. And then it's like a process of couples even like getting kids. It's the hardest process ever to like adopt a child in America. They make it so difficult. And I don't know what for, like, kids need homes. Like, just shouldn't be that difficult. Oh, man.
I am currently not in the financial place to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a choice.
Oh, you're not in the financial place to adopt him. Yeah, because deciding you want a child that's already here is vastly different from having unprotected sex and saying, oh man, no, not me. How could this have happened? All I did was have unprotected sex. Goofies. So goofy.
Choice that I could make to become a foster parent. The issue is that becoming a foster parent is something that you register with the state. It's not as easy as just saying like, well, you can just one day become a foster parent. It is a long, tedious process. It's expensive. Yeah. There's tons of things that go into it.
Yeah. I would also say
it's not the same thing as a pregnancy. It's not the same thing. A pregnancy, you're not sitting there signing up and waiting years for it to happen. No, you had unprotected sex with a rando one night and you got pregnant, and now you don't want it out of selfishness. Haley, welcome to the stream. You just got notified. To be fair, this is my second stream because YouTube clipped the first one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we figured it out too. Every time this happens, every time I talk about Satan in a live stream, YouTube cuts the stream. So, Also, I'm not gonna lie, bro getting jumped were his fellow pro-lifers. They need to jump in to save him because they're just letting him get washed.
Thousands of dollars. You guys had something to say.
We're talking about who should have a voice in this discussion, but it's like the unborn don't have a voice. They're not yet able to like have a voice, but they are still human beings with dignity, and we ought to respect that. So I think it's like, I think we really need to sort of figure out, it's like, what are we talking about here? Because if abortion doesn't kill human beings, then no justification is necessary. However, if it does kill human beings, no justification is adequate.
I always say that if murder was happening at the rate that abortions happen at, it would be Armageddon. Like, it is just absolute. Women, I think it's like a quarter of women will have an abortion in their lifetime. If that was happening, if an eighth of the population was being murdered, then it would be the.
It is, you idiot. It is. Y'all aborting the babies are murdering them. It is. You know, I would say, like, so many women have these many abortions, and just think about it. If these many people got murdered, they are. You're doing it.
The purge.
Why do you think we're so distraught, though?
It doesn't affect you, though. Like,
but
it doesn't affect us.
If I hadn't
anywhere
told you, you wouldn't know.
KL, we're on the same page. I think all of our heads hurt at this point because it ain't even really this one. This one's been quiet the whole time. They told their story about how they got molested by a family member, and they haven't really said anything about anything. These three, however, it's crazy.
Justice anywhere is a threat to justice
everywhere.
But why is every single person, even if they are not under my jurisdiction, the oppression of that person is my business, and that's what it is.
I respect that approach.
This is, to us, it sort of sounds like if we're saying it's like if you don't want an abortion, sort of just don't have one. Yeah. But we hear it sort of in the same way. It's like if you like don't like slavery, don't have a slave. We sort of hear it sort of in the same ways because it's involving like. It's sort of the destruction of the dignity of a human person, like abortion and slavery violate the dignity of a human person.
So you're comparing abortion?
I actually agree with that. I actually agree with that, and I think that ties in nicely.
See, they thought they was gonna hang that white man, and so that black woman was like, I agree with that. They wasn't expecting that. Look at this white girl. She was like, what? Abortion is slavery? What? You said an eagle's nest is more protected than a baby in the mother's womb. It's a $5,000 fine and a month of jail. That's crazy. That's wild.
To this whole systems and foster care argument, because people argued vehemently at the time in which we were about to end slavery that we should not end slavery because we don't have the systems. We don't have the systems ready for all of the slaves that will now be free. There's no jobs out there for them. They don't have any land. Oh, we need to keep them as slaves until we have the right system. No, you don't get to degrade the dignity of another human being until you're.
Why is she covering her ears? Constance isn't even saying anything bad. Why are you covering your ears? You don't want to hear the reality of slaves? This seems kind of racist to me.
We're ready for them to be here.
And black people are still suffering today.
Until you are ready for them to live dignified lives. That's unjust.
I want to touch on the prompt about the foster care system, and I just wanted to emphasize that for me, I didn't take into consideration the foster care. I don't feel like anybody is less than. I don't think that you're less than. I think me and you are entitled to the same rights. Of course, just personally, when I made my decision, it wasn't.
Black babies are the #1 murdered baby, literally, every year. So we want to talk about murders and all this other stuff. It'd be so crazy. Imagine the population. If 1/8 of the population was murdered, you are murdering them, you idiots. Y'all the murderers. So stupid.
A matter of, I don't want my child to go to the foster care or be adopted out. That wasn't the question. What I took into consideration, what my boyfriend and I decided together was, we did not want to put me through the physical constraints of pregnancy without him, because my boyfriend, he is a very traditional Christian, and I'm no longer religious. I grew up in the Catholic Church.
A very traditional Christian, yet y'all have unprotected sex all the time, and you're not married. Yeah, so that's a lie. That's a whole lie. I don't know what he fed you to get into your pants, but boy, did it work. That's crazy. She also believes that they have a long-term relationship and these are teenagers. So, you know. Ugh. This is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking. Is Jubilee far right? Wrong side of the fence. Jubilee is definitely left. He's something. He's something.
I'm not religious anymore, but I respect his views, and he carries a lot of views that you have. But because of his consideration to me and his approach to the family structure, he knew that he was not in a position to take care of me in that vulnerable time. And the weeks that I was pregnant, it was.
Yeah, he's very traditional. He has all y'all views. He was just, he be thinking about me. That's why he threw them all down the toilet so we could raw dog every night. Yep.
Very extremely hard for me. It was mentally and physically draining. The changes that were going on, it was to the point where I could not participate in the daily activities that one does, go to work, feed themselves, get out of bed. It was very psychologically difficult in that short period of time. And we knew at that point that it was going to be a very demanding and laborious pregnancy had I gone through with it. But because of how he feels and his
consequences of you having unprotected sex,
his responsibility and his duties that he places on himself as a man, he wanted to make sure that that experience of pregnancy, and when we do decide to have a child, I'm in a point where I can be cared for appropriately. Just the way I waited out, and again, it wasn't because this aversion
right
to
here.
the foster care. In fact, I feel like
if he's not a finesser, he's definitely a progressive Christian. Because ain't no way you're going to sit here and be like, he's a very traditional Christian and he has the same viewpoints as y'all. Ma'am, y'all not even married. Stop it. Stop it right now.
We should better resources for those children because they have every right to be here. I'm more so focused on whether or not, again, should the government enforce and place themselves in such a personal matter when it's a matter of people using their bodies.
I would think most of us in some regard agree with you. I can't speak for everyone here. I don't know everyone's various political beliefs. Most of us would agree with you, and that's why we're pro-life, is because we see it as that's what the government is doing to children in the womb. The reality that the government could have just, because of the way that the government works and because of the way that the abortion system works, the reality that I just could be non-existent and not exist at all is horrifying. And the reality that my memory, my life, my genetic makeup, the people that fought for years to give me rights, that can all just be erased. Is horrifying.
But it would have never happened. It's not like it happened and then it was erased.
I was conceived. My mother had the option to abort.
Yeah.
Therefore, it could have happened.
Parents should be informed if their teen is seeking an abortion.
Yes. Yes, because you need to know, first off, you need to know what's going on with your child, okay? You need to know what's going on with them, and you should be informed. That shouldn't be something they should be doing behind your back. No. You need to be informed. Oh, of course they didn't walk forward. Of course they didn't walk forward. Especially these two right here. Oh, my parents have no idea I had an abortion. Yeah, girl, me too. My parents don't know either. I don't know what I'm going to do when they watch this video. I'm going to have to hide it from them. She's, once again, lesbian. I don't know why you here. This one, I mean, you told your parents what was happening. So I don't know why you're not stepping forward. Weird. Weird. Check out Abolition Rising. We'll check it out when the video's over because it's about to end in a minute. We don't have that much longer.
Is seeking an abortion.
So when I was being sexually abused, my parents didn't know. When my rapist...
Whoa, hold on. How did everybody else pop up?
...found out that I had a pregnancy scare, he was like, I will f***ing kill you if this is the situation. I'll kill you. And I think that if I...
This right here. Couldn't be my child, you might not be coming home, not gonna lie. You know, that's the black fear from our culture. That's what that is. That's what that is. My mom was the same way. even though sex wasn't on my mind, like even as like a teenager. But my mom grew up in the hood, so she saw the friends that she had growing up, plus one of her oldest sisters had got like pregnant at a very young age. So once I started hitting like, what was it, 11 and 12, she was all like, you ever get pregnant and come home pregnant, I'm gonna kill you, blah blah. So I already knew, but in my mind I'm just like, Mom, I just want to play Pokemon and basketball. Like, what are we talking about right now? Like, ain't nobody think about no sex. But my mom, this energy was literally my mom. And it's so funny because I was not that child. I was the nerd. Like, I wasn't that kid at all.
Gone into an abortion facility, as many girls and women have, and been forced by my rapist to have an abortion. I think that this is another, I guess, part of a system where mandatory reporting fails, as it has many times in abortion facilities, particularly in Planned Parenthood. Parents need to be informed if their child's being sexually abused, and because mandatory reporting often fails in this way, because Planned Parenthood is a business and they make money off of what they do, I think that it's really important for the parents at least to have this knowledge and to have this understanding.
Yeah. My thing is the editing on this was weird because only the anti-side walked forward, and then it kind of jump cutted to all these people sitting here. So did they come after the fact? Because the one girl is still standing back. So what happened with that? That's kind of crazy. Okay, want to eat popcorn and play video games? At 16 or 18? Look, that sounds great. Like, that sounds great even now.
I think it's a really kind of tricky situation and topic.
You said Lottie is awesome, and they cut so much of her stuff. Is that the other girl that's just hasn't been talking this whole time? That has to be. That has to be the girl in the green shirt, right?
Topic to discuss, just because there are so many, like, there's such a breadth of situations that can occur.
Lottie talked
and
way
have
more. They
occurred.
cut a ton.
And I'm so sorry for what you went through, by the way. But like, that situation is really awful, and it definitely highlights how having parental oversight.
Wait, who's Lottie? Is that her name? I wasn't really paying attention to their names. I'm gonna be real with you. Nope, that's a Aya. The redhead profile girl? Her name says Ayala. It doesn't say Lottie.
Is good and important in certain situations, but also, like,
is that like her
there are situations
YouTube name
where
or
young
something?
people are in situations with abusive households, abusive parents, who, if they found out
that is her?
That teenager, that child was attempting to do something to care for themselves and to help themselves live the life that they need to, or for their health, or whatever reason they might have for doing it, they'll be prevented from seeking care of any kind, not even just like an abortion. They'll be prevented from seeking any kind of sexual wellness care,
Lottie
health care of
Jupri.
any sort, because their parent is aware that they were
look it
looking
up after
for that
this.
kind of support.
And I'd like to go off of what you're saying. I agree full-heartedly that there are different situations where it could be dangerous for the individual to tell their parents, and that's why I think pregnancy resource centers, which is what we support, are such a valuable tool, because they have the right to put protections over this young individual or older individual. And if they are in an unsafe situation, they house them, they feed them, they get them a job away from the area where they are. You know, they do stuff to help, but also those situations and the situation the child was conceived in, that child still has value. So that's why I'm a firm believer in protecting both the mother and the child.
I mean, I would also like to say that, like, as much as young people don't like to hear it, and as much as I didn't like to hear it myself, because I had, you know, a messed up household, because I had a parent who was not a safe parent. I think that parents have rights. Uniquely, like the Ohio Initiative for Choice right now is trying to attack parents' rights, trying to make it so that people can get medical.
Is Constance from Ohio? Because she just mentioned that out of like nowhere.
Procedures or supposed medical procedures in abortions and not have to notify their parents. And there have been teenagers and young women who have died from abortion procedures.
We have people that go and counsel outside.
That is everything Constance just said when she said there's been young women that have died from abortion procedures. That's actually true. That's true. 1 week when I was going to do a Sunday service episode, and I was going to actually mention that. And then that's when I forgot what was going on with my system at that time. Oh, the audio was messed up for 1 week or like 2 weeks in a row or something. So I didn't do episodes, but I found that article and I read it. So she's spot on about that. The things they don't ever talk about when it comes to abortion, like you can die in that process. It's possible.
Of Planned Parenthoods and abortion facilities, and we've seen, like we've documented, reported to the state, suspicious behavior of people bringing busloads of minors in to have abortions, and it's one of those things that we just have to look at the reality and we have to address it.
There's actually statistics that say that the majority of women who have undergone sex trafficking report having more than one forced abortion, specifically saying forced abortion.
And we are against that too, right? We are against people being forced into abortions as much as anything else.
I think parents.
I mean, are you? Like, I don't know what you are.
Have an obligation to care for the child that they have in their care, and I think it is a parent's responsibility to support that child, of course. But then again, I feel like I'm speaking from a privilege of where I obtained mine when I was already a legal adult, so I didn't have to tell my parents. I just know for me personally, because I went to Planned Parenthood to obtain my abortion, and even when I obtained my birth control and my routine screenings from them, some of the questions that they always asked me was, are you safe? Are you in a safe situation? Are you doing this because you consented to it? When I obtained my abortion, they asked me, is someone forcing you? And they have signs all over in the clinic telling them, or telling patients that they are obligated to report if you are being sex trafficked or abused in some way.
The reason I disagreed was because I believe the prompt said teens should have to come to their parents. I am acquainted with someone who just had an abortion who is the same age as us, and she did not tell her parents. She has yet to tell her parents.
You said that's a lie? When she was talking about they asked her them questions. Each facility is different. Maybe the one she went to said that. I don't believe it though. She could be capping. Cause this is also the same girl. You weren't here, Haley, you missed it. This is the same girl that was like, I do believe it's a life inside of me, and me and my boyfriend grieved it and I held it in my hands, and then in the same breath was like, I wasn't holding no life. That ain't real. That wasn't a person. It's like, girl, something wrong with you.
Well, I think we're talking about telling parents before the procedure, particularly, because that has ramifications. I mean, I'm sure afterwards there's some ramifications, but I think parents, like I said, would have the right to know before you get the procedure.
I have a question, because I think a lot of us are coming from the approach of like minors, but I'm saying it specifically with my case because I was already legally an adult when I had my. Do you feel like even in cases, although we are teens here, I'm still legally an adult?
Yeah, you missed all of that. we done already had the conversation and everybody threw that out already.
Medical information, now that I am legally able to obtain care on my own, because that's where I'm going to operate from, should even against my wishes, should they be informed? Because I think for me, with such a sensitive topic, I want to go to them when I'm ready, because I'm coming here now sharing my story, but I was not prepared to come out with mine because it's still something that I grieve with to this day, still something that my boyfriend and I, we still tackle with every day, but I just don't.
We still grieve and tackle this every day. Also her, that ain't a human. That ain't real. That wasn't a baby. She's confused. She's straight up confused. I don't know if the grieving loss got her in this weird mental space or what. But she's been all over the place this whole episode.
Agree with the idea that even though I'm a teenager, I'm still an adult and I should still have my choice to not expose my private medical information to my parent. Now that I'm willing and able to make that choice, that should be violated.
I think that we would all agree that, like, for an adult, no, if you're a legal adult, you shouldn't have to tell your parents. However, I think we're specifically talking about minors.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible to find a middle ground on the issue of abortion?
No.
Not possible.
I think it's possible.
I think there's some ways to find some middle grounds.
Yeah, I think we already have here today on like certain parts of it.
But that's
No, y'all haven't. Y'all haven't found middle ground on anything, to be honest with you. What, the last prompt where you all agree minors should tell their parents? That's not middle ground on abortion.
on parts of it, not on the abortion issue itself.
Thank you guys for your.
Yeah, that was. Man, pray for these kids, man. On the pro-abortion side, pray for them, please. They need it. Mental illness happens after trauma. Murdering your kid is traumatic. That's true. That is true. TikTok educated youth that wants to be a grown-up with no responsibility. That's basically what we watched. Ain't no middle ground. Facts. Where the middle ground, I don't see it. It wasn't none. It wasn't none. That wore you out already? That wore me out too. That wore me out as well. It's Jubilee, so let's look at the comments section. Let's look at the comments section. First one. Constance needs to realize not everyone wants a child, especially if they've been raped. Constance was the black chick that was like giving them the business. That's what she was doing. Look at this person. I want to see doctors and scientists talk about this topic. It'd be very interesting to see what well-educated people have to say about it. Doctors and scientists all agree that it is a baby inside of you and you are killing it. But you guys don't like hearing that side of it. So, I mean, what would be the point? What would be the point about any of that? Look at this one. Alexandra is the most knowledgeable person on the panel. She's the only one who seems to understand both sides of the argument. Alexandra was the one that held the baby in her hand, but also said it was not a baby. So, no, she was not. She was a mess. And this is crazy. Standing ovation to Alexandra. So proud of this young lady. So proud of her. Alexandra's so intelligent. I pray she gets to become the mother she wishes to be when she believes it's her time. It was her time. She killed it. So, yeah. There's a lot of people in the comments section that's riding with Alexandra. This is sad. This is sad. All right, let's pull this other channel up. Abolitionist Rising. Oh, I know who this is. I follow this guy on TikTok.
We have...
Yeah, I already know who this is. I love his stuff. Ooh, which one should we watch, though? Let me see. Hold on. Evangelizing a post-abortive Catholic who denies her sin. That's all over the place. Like... good luck to him on that one. Like, yikes. That's crazy. She is a mother to a dead baby. She doesn't see it that way. She doesn't see it that way at all. So if I drank a shot for every stupid thing that was said aloud, I'd need a bigger bottle. We'd be drunk. We would be drunk right now. This would be horrible. You would have saw me. We would have sitting here. I would have been like, what? She's stupid. Somebody take her bike away and just throw a bottle. That's how far along on the drunk train I would have been. Actually, the very few times I've gotten drunk in my life, I just got sleepy. So if that was the game we were playing, I would have fell asleep on stream. And y'all probably would have been cracking jokes in chat until you all just like slowly left one by one. So that's what that would have been. Let's do this one because I just realized what time it is. It's about to be 11. So let's do 8 minutes of pro-aborts taking L's. That actually sounds great. Okay, family, I'm going to bed. It's almost 10 p.m. here in Chicago. Good night. All right, really, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. If you're available tomorrow, I will see you tomorrow. But if not, you have a blessed night. And I'll see you on the next one. You say you don't agree with a lot that he says. He used to work for a Calvinist. But does that make him a Calvinist? Dun-dun-dun. Did he change his ways, or is that still who he is? Oh, we're already starting out on a wonderful foot. I just saw it. Look at this. Are you a woman? Then how can you ever talk about the abortion topic? We just talked about this. We literally just talked about this. Also, this is low.
Yes. Yeah, I'm an African American lesbian Jew. Are you free? Wait, we're all men?
Oh.
Where'd Rachel go?
Oh, he still is a Calvinist? I mean, you can still be right about certain things just because you're a Calvinist. You just don't agree with his doctrine, that's all. That's all. But this topic right here, he has to be right on this. I saw my cat woke up. I saw him poke his little head in here. He's like, you still back there, huh? All right. I'm not going to yell yet, but I might yell in a minute.
They're over. We've been out. Hey, I don't have a vagina, but I do believe in human rights. So the females that are out here with us, hey, listen.
I'm on my period right now. What's up?
Hey, I'm not on my period right now, that's for sure. But if I claimed it, I guess we would be in a weird place.
This is also a very weird argument for them to have when men want to have a voice in the conversation, because these are also the same people that claim anybody can be a woman. And they claim men can be pregnant and all this other weird nonsense. So if that is the case, then how dare you tell him he doesn't have a voice in this conversation? Apparently, anybody can have a voice in this conversation.
Yes, wouldn't we?
Yeah, because...
Does anyone else want to just be really bold and outlandish and tell us about your period? Because I don't know if that's an argument.
And do you know who was written by? White men like you.
Sir,
I can't stand this argument either. I can't stand this argument either about the Bible. This is the first time I heard a white guy say it, though, so I'll give it that. Usually it's from black people. Usually when you tell them you're like Christian or something, so you follow the white man's religion, huh? So you believe in white Jesus. You know they fed that to us during slavery, right? You know a bunch of old white men wrote the Bible, right? And it's like, please, you couldn't be any more wrong about everything you're saying. Just shut up.
You think I'm a white man, but obviously I am a African American lesbian Jew. Name it and claim it. You can't tell me what I am.
I'm sorry.
You cannot tell me what I am.
You can't tell me what I am.
You think the rainbow started with the LGBTQ? That came from the Bible first?
Yeah. I just want to give everybody here some advice. Don't ever touch these guys because they're videoing right here and they're lawsuits as well.
We're not chasing lawsuits.
So what? They're videoing and they're chasing lawsuits. It's like, where did that come from? That's so random.
Lawsuits. I promise you, we're not chasing lawsuits.
Yeah.
That's good.
They just made some lie up.
I think what y'all are doing is actually pretty fucked up. Y'all don't even...
You just walked up. You haven't even know. You just walk up and...
I mean, you kind of walked up here and started inserting your opinion, too. I don't see what the issue is.
Where'd you hear it?
I was just walking by. This lady over here came up to me and gave me a pamphlet, and it was very false advertising.
Why?
Because it looks like y'all are pro-LGBTQ and pro-choice with the hand and the...
Even among...
You know, it's false advertising. You look very pro-alphabet community because of the rainbow, but that's from the Bible. Y'all stole that and then removed the color. What are we talking about?
Among people who have differing views, there's an ability to sort of like make an argument.
This right here, and it annoys me because then, this is the crazy part. If you tell them, you'd be like, hey, do you know Christianity didn't start with the blacks during slavery? It actually started in Africa around like, what was it, like 35 AD or something, somewhere around that time period. And they get so mad when you say that, and they be like, no, that's because the white man took Christianity. How do you think it got there? You don't believe that, do you? And it's like, it didn't. It didn't. It's not how that got there. That's...
Back it up with like valid, sound. This is a proposition. Abortion is murder. Murder defined as the intentional destruction of a human being. A human being is conceived. It doesn't matter if I have one or not. Say I don't. Say I'm trans and I don't. Do I have the Say my wife is out here and she's saying the same thing. Does she have the right to oppose this?
Does she have a vagina?
Yeah. Yeah, you pro-life? Yeah. You gonna go to the walk? Oh, you couldn't hear him. He started walking the other way, but he was still like, yeah.
Vagina?
Yeah.
Yes, she has a choice.
Okay.
You have no fucking
So the argument is valid and sound based on whether I have certain sex organs. No, the reality is that there are men and women who hate abortion.
Facts. My cat could never be racist. It's white and black, just like me. So.
Not finished.
Go ahead.
You were speaking all with theoreticals. You're saying like, oh, if someone is raped, they should be able to like, blah blah blah. The reality
Punish
is,
the rapist.
Yeah, that doesn't fucking happen.
It
The
should.
rapist rarely gets punished.
Oh, I know. Rapists love abortion. It gets them off the hook.
Here condemning that. Instead,
Oh,
you're
yeah, I am.
condemning the victim.
Just in case you're curious, we condemn rape. No. Someone rapes a person, right? What?
Where are you condemning rape?
Women are not sex objects. Babies are not body parts. You can't do whatever you want to a woman, and you can't do whatever you want to a baby. It's consistency. We've all been there. That's true. You've been there. I've been there. We've been in the womb. We developed. Yeah.
You sure?
Positive.
What if you don't know I'm not IVF?
IVF is still in a womb.
It's still in the womb, you idiot.
Are you serious? In vitro fertilization, they fertilize.
It goes in the womb.
The egg outside, and they place it in a mother's womb, and they develop. All human beings have developed in a mother's womb. Yeah, I argue.
She thought she was doing something. See, these arguments they're tossing out ain't gonna make sense till the pod babies happen. Then when they be like, oh yeah, all babies were made in the womb. Oh, but what about the pod baby? It's like they pushing it so hard so they can be like, ha, we got him. We got him.
From the Bible. So but that's not imposing religion, that's sharing religion.
Oh, look at this Antifa person right here. Ha ha! I'm giving it to him. I'm bad. Because I'm throwing my middle finger up. Ha ha! Look at me with my fingers. Ha ha ha! Such a loser.
I share my faith.
Basing your
yes.
opinions off of your religion. That's
yes.
what is happening.
I love my neighbor as myself, and I believe humans have rights because they're made in the image of God.
I'm ruining your video. You're never going to put this up.
And they don't have to be for me to talk to them. You can. What's your belief?
What's my belief?
Yes.
And then have the nerve to have a "Shut Up, Karen" shirt on. It's like, but you're the. So your shirt's talking about you.
I don't really have. I'm more spiritual.
But you can share it with me, and I won't consider it opposing.
But you came here to provoke people.
You can provoke me with your beliefs, and I won't consider it wrong.
What did you think was going to happen to you when you came here?
Did
you think people were
something
going to
like
accept
this.
you? Like this?
Yeah, something like this. There have been people who come by, they like it, they agree with it, and there are people that seem to be very affected. I knew that there would be triggered people, and not everybody believes in human rights. I was well aware of that. Yeah.
In order to help
you can't.
carry that
You can't enter. Like.
Is it really illegal
like,
to help the mother carry that
like,
through?
like if
Is
you
it
were,
really illegal
if
to
you
give her the
listen,
necessary
if
stuff
you were
that
about
she
to take a
needs in
pill,
order to
I
keep
couldn't
her
stop
own
you.
baby?
Yikes, this lady is tripping.
If you were about to take a pill, I couldn't stop you. That'd be illegal. That's what I'm saying. Because you're protected in the state of Oklahoma to abort your baby with a pill. I'm saying.
Oh my God, my body's protected. God forbid.
No, the baby
My
inside.
body has
Hold
as
on.
much rights as a dead corpse.
The baby inside
God
your body.
forbid.
The baby inside your body is the unprotected person. You're protected.
She's so angry.
No one can murder you.
God forbid.
They have to break the law to murder you. Babies are not protected by law.
Babies, breathing.
Well, even before they breathe. Whenever they're just pumping blood.
Baby till they're breathing. They're
Processing oxygen. Before that, they're human embryos.
Y'all hear the logic on this one? They're not a baby until they're breathing. So, like we said last video, why do you call it baby showers then? The baby not out on it, breathing on its own. It's still inside the woman's stomach. Well, womb, you know what I mean. But like, it's getting late. So y'all, what do y'all think that is then?
If you don't like the word baby, which I just mean small human being, human child, human embryo, human fetus. Yes, it is. A human embryo is a human in the embryonic stage of development. A human fetus, yeah, a human zygote. You can get on Google and Wikipedia and later on tonight go, wow, I was really, really dumb and said dumb things. But no, Wikipedia, Google, anyone else. If you do not want to be filmed right now with this guy who, then you should walk away from the camera. If you don't want to be filmed, here, let me make it clear for you. If you do not want to be on film right now, you need to go about 3 yards that way.
Fuck you, man.
If you want to be on, if you want to be on film,
I told you I don't want to be
listen.
on film.
Okay, he's telling you what to do if you don't want to be on film. Step 3 yards this way and you won't be on film. Immediate response, F you, man. It's like... He reminds me of a clip I saw earlier this morning. So some woman was yelling out the window, like she was in the backseat of an Uber. I don't know who she was talking to on the phone because she definitely wasn't calling the cops. And she's yelling out the window, help, I've been kidnapped. And the dude's just like, you know what, lady, you're crazy. He pulls over and he's like, get out of my car. No, I'm not getting out of your car. He's like, you just claimed I kidnapped you, okay? Something's wrong, get out of my car. I'm not getting out of your car. I paid for this Uber ride. It's like, I'm going to stay right here. And then right after saying that, no, don't you touch me. Don't you touch me. I'm calling the police because you're kidnapping me. That's this guy. I don't want to be on camera. Okay, step this way not to be on camera. F you, man. You're not going to talk to me like this. I don't want to be on camera.
I'm explaining it to you. If you want to be on film, stand there. If you want to be on film, stand here.
No, I was in the middle of this conversation already, but now because I don't want to
Right,
be filmed,
at this moment, if you do not want to be filmed, go over there about 3 yards. Because you are being filmed, and if you do not want to be filmed, you gotta move.
That's your problem, is that you follow one person 100%.
I saw this
you don't
one
look for
before.
yourself.
I only follow the person I believe who is God.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
Why?
Because what you're doing is you're blindly following instead of thinking for your own.
But do you know who you're following? You're following one person.
Myself.
You're following one person.
Yeah, myself.
Yeah, yourself.
Yeah, and that's what we all need to
But
do.
you just told me, hey, hold on a second, slow down. You just told me that following one person is wrong. So I'm following Jesus, you're following yourself. No offense to you, but I think Jesus is better than you.
Any person.
So I'm saying, like, regardless of what anyone feels, because your point that some woman somewhere is going to be helped by it, well, if her chief thing in life is like moving to New York and becoming a clothing designer or something like that, or playing in the WNBA, and a child's going to get in the way of that,
The child is going to get in the way.
Right. So she sees
Man, you
abortion as
shouldn't
helping
have
her.
been having unprotected
But that's
sex.
because she values being in the WNBA more
Exactly,
than
more than a child.
more
If
than a
she had
child.
the child,
Yeah.
and she was still in the NBA, that child would probably be selected. So it's
So-
better for her
so-
to not have the child.
So on that
Wow, did you hear that argument? If she had that child and she was still in the WNBA, that child would probably be neglected. Yikes. She'd actually be making like an average salary at least, considering they don't really get paid that much. But like to ball just for like the summer months, that child would not be neglected. What a crazy way of thinking. That's wild.
you agree that that means, therefore, that abortion is child sacrifice.
Whoa.
And think about it.
That's crazy.
It's child
Whoa, you blew my mind, dude. Whoa.
sacrifice.
For the WNBA.
Well, for any, so I wanted to do this thing, whatever it be, the WNBA, but the baby would keep me from doing it. But if I kill the baby, I can do this thing. So I sacrificed the baby so that I can pursue this thing that I think is better than being a mother. The problem is they are a mother of a murdered child that is now playing basketball for a very small viewership.
For a very small viewership. I mean, he wasn't lying about that. That's pretty spot on and accurate. All right, y'all. We're going to call it because it's about to be 11. And I called the womb the stomach. So we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. Thank you guys for joining me tonight, especially after, the first stream. That lasted like 30 minutes because how dare we talk about the devil? How dare us? But thanks for stopping by. You guys already know we're going to do this again tomorrow. I'm going to find some more videos. If you guys want to share some videos as well, feel free to hit me up on Twitter and share them. Or if we follow each other on Discord, DM them. It'd be like just as easy. You know what I'm saying? So, was it Steve, Tara? We could do it tomorrow, Jorge. We could do it tomorrow. But I'm going to call it. You guys have a wonderful, blessed evening. And then that'd actually be good. We'll start on a good note tomorrow. We'll start with the Steve Tara Barrett video. Because I saved it. Because I pulled it on my phone earlier. That's how I said I knew he was doing the guitars and stuff. We'll pull it. That'd be the first one we watch tomorrow. All right, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Y'all have a blessed night or day, wherever y'all watching me from. I appreciate y'all. Oh, and then I gotta buy some more stuff for the book bag drive, the backpack drive. We'll do them numbers tomorrow too. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I appreciate y'all. Don't drink anything you literally spit. Yeah. After them last two videos, yeah. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one.